Grammy Awards-winning singer Lisa Left Eye Lopez of the popular group TLC was killed in a car accident in Honduras.
Yeah, are you Iggy Azalea? I would just like to thank you so much for ruining hip-hop.
Video from July 2020 shows her limping, leaving a trail of blood.
Were you afraid for your life at that time?
I was really scared because I had never been shot at before.
Nobody have it harder in the industry and in every genre harder than a female rapper.
Something is happening in the female rap industry, and it's not normal. Artists are blowing up overnight, while legends quietly disappear. Lauryn Hill gone at her peak, Lil Kim pushed out, Nicki Minaj suddenly under pressure from every direction. Then out of nowhere, Cardi B, Thee Stallion, Doja Cat, rising fast, clashing publicly, falling out.
The first interview she did after Motorsport came out, it just really hurt me because she looked so aggravated and angry.
And now it's happening again, even faster. That's not evolution, it's too perfect, too controlled. And once you start connecting the dots, it gets dark.
Just remember that y'all see me on this videotape 10 years from now and y'all see me in the movies.
Lisa Nicole Lopez was born on May 27, 1971 in Philadelphia. Her mother Wanda was a seamstress and her father Ronald a sergeant in the US Army. Her dad played a mean saxophone, piano, harmonica, and clarinet, and some of this talent clearly rubbed off on little Lisa. By the time she was 5, well, she was tinkering away on her toy piano and composing her own songs.
My mother's side of the family is more artistically inclined. And everyone in my father's side of the family is musically inclined.
She soon had 2 younger siblings, Ronald and Raindrop, and she created a band calling themselves the Lopez Kids. Together they would tour to nearby churches to sing gospel music. Sounds like a picture-perfect family. But back home, there was trouble brewing. Her father was a great musician, but he was also an abusive alcoholic. He disciplined the kids like they were in the army and would sometimes hit their mom. This led to them divorcing 2 times and moving around constantly. When she was 19, her boyfriend told her about an open casting in Atlanta for a new girl group. She moved there with him for the audition and ended up landing the role, or the gig, or getting in the group, whatever.
TLC! TLC's in the house!
The group was originally called Second Nature, then became TLC, which you may think stands for Tender Loving Care, but that isn't the case. Lisa earned herself the nickname Left Eye alongside T-Boz and Chili. Borrowing the first letters from each of their stage names, they rebranded themselves as TLC. The ladies broke onto the scene in 1992 with the release of Ooh. Yeah, that's 7 O's and 3 H's on the TLC tip. God, I miss the 90s. They ended up moving 6 million copies and had 3 singles climb to the top 10. Left Eye quickly became known as the crazy outspoken one. She had no issues making bold statements, and she would wear condoms inside her sunglasses, or eyeglasses. She was trying to support safe sex. I don't think that's how they work though.
And you want to roll it all the way down your foot, and then you can put it inside your shoe.
Their next release, Crazy Sexy Cool, came out in 1994 and sold 11 million albums, officially making them the biggest girl group in the world! Which must have given record labels an idea of what direction to move in, because that same year the Spice Girls, they were formed, and the Backstreet Boys the year earlier. TLC had 3 consecutive #1 singles with Creep, Waterfalls, and Red Light Special, and were given their first Grammy. In the #1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100, but beneath all the glitz, her personal life was falling apart. Since '93, she had been in a relationship with NFL player Andre Rison, but with his temper and her drinking habit, they started to get destructive. Lopez put up with physical and emotional abuse regularly, until one night she decided to set his tennis shoes on fire to get back at him. The fire spread to the rest of the Atlanta mansion, and let's just say a waterfall really would have come in handy that day.
And you know, I've been called crazy.
Lisa didn't face jail time, but she was sentenced to 5 years probation. She also had to spend time at a halfway house, and then she was sued by Rison's insurance company for all his losses. That paired with the band's money being mismanaged, well, that led to TLC and Lopez declaring bankruptcy. It would be a few years before the 3 would be able to get back on their feet again. In the meantime, Left Eye cut down on partying and went on spiritual retreats to the Honduras, where she would meditate, fast, and focus on her health. It wasn't until 1999 they started recording their third album, Fan Mail, but already things started heating up in the studio. Lisa felt she had outgrown their style of music and publicly challenged T-Boz and Chili to make solo albums to see which of the three was the best. The two ladies never did deliver on that challenge, but luckily TLC moved on to release Fan Mail.
A scrub is a guy that thinks he's flying, is also known as a buster.
Yeah. I remember my scrub days, hanging out the passenger side, living at home with my mama. I'm happy those days are behind me. The album was a success and led to the group's first headlining tour. Their final stop in Atlanta was even put on pay-per-view and brought in over $70 million, becoming PPV's most profitable TV special ever.
Is it true that you guys work with NSYNC?
I would have to say yes to that.
TLC was on top of the world and Lopez was making appearances everywhere. She was featured on tracks by Melanie C and Sing, she was hosting award shows, posing for The Gap, and even getting a spot on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's when you've made it.
Yes, for 64.
What? Back in the day, it was huge.
You've earned yourself a nice tall glass of sea moss.
In the midst of all this, Lisa was working on that solo album just like she had promised, titled Supernova. It had incredibly personal tracks on it, including one for her late father, where she makes amends with him. Unfortunately, the lead single flopped and her album was never released in the States. Upset, she switched her solo label to Death Row Records after talks with CEO Suge Knight. She was gearing up for her second solo album and fourth with TLC, then she went to Honduras for a 1-week healing retreat. During this time, she was vlogging her vacation, and her last few peaceful moments, well, they were caught on tape. On April 25, 2002, Lopez tried to pass a car on a small road. She pulled around only to see another one was coming head on. She swerved to avoid it and ended up rolling her SUV. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. The passengers in her car, they all survived, but Lisa Lopez was killed instantly. Taken at the height of her fame, a lot of people remember her for her talent and crazy antics, but Left Eye also likes to spread the love. Before her passing, she had adopted 2 children, and years earlier opened a public studio from her home where new artists could record on top-end equipment at a low cost. Her brother Ronald continued to manage the studio after her passing. Then in 2008, her family released a Lisa Lopez album, and TLC has continued on without their L.
Call that judge right now and tell him I can have my baby back. I am not gonna call him.
Nicki Minaj was born Anika Tanya Mirage on December 8, 1982 in Trinidad and Tobago, but she grew up in Queens, New York. Now I've covered her childhood and her come-up story in the Before They Were Famous video I've done on her, so for more details on that, you should definitely check out that video. She really does have an amazing story. Her dad was an addict who sold the family's furniture to buy drugs. Her mother, a nurse's aide, struggled to keep a stable home. As his addictions got worse, well, he became abusive and even set the family home on fire in an attempt to kill her mother. As a teenager, Nicki went from drama student to aspiring musician, and eventually she fell in love with rap. Now, she was discovered by Lil Wayne, she signed to Young Money, and she grew a following with mixtapes like Playtime Is Over, Sucker Free, and Beam Me Up Scotty. I don't know why I said over like that, forgive me. Now her lead single off her debut studio album, Pink Friday, well, there was a track, Your Love, and it was released in 2009 and it hit #1 on the US rap charts, making Nicki the first female artist to accomplish this feat, well, since 2002. From there, Nicki's career continued to skyrocket. Pink Friday went triple platinum, hitting #1 on the Billboard 200. With her next 2 projects reaching double platinum status and topping both the US rap charts and the US R&B chart. Her singles would do equally well with tracks like Moments for Life, Only, and Anaconda topping the US rap charts. Plus, she'd secured collaborations from just about everyone in the game. I'm talking everyone from Lil Uzi Vert to 2 Chainz to Ariana Grande. Now, throughout her career, Nicki picked up a dozen awards, including AMAs, Teen Choice Awards, and MTV VMAs. Also, well, 10 Grammy nods. She also expanded beyond music with her own fragrance line. She also had her collab with MAC Cosmetics, and she also returned to her dramatic roots, acting in 3 different films.
But I'll tell you what my mother told me, and these are words to live by. Selfish people live longer.
Of course, no one achieves this level of fame and success without making a few enemies along the way.
2 years, I get told about some female rapper that
It's gonna take this.
it's literally, we really have the tweets. Like every 2 years.
The first enemy Nicki made? Well, I guess that would be Remy Ma. And their beef? It started way back in 2007 with Nicki not so subliminal attack on her track from Dirty Money where she rapped, "Tell that With the crown to run it like Chris Brown, she won 3 rounds, I'ma need 100,000. At the time, Remy was calling herself the Queen of New York, and it had been reported that she had won $100,000 in a freestyle rap contest. As for Ma's response, well, it would take some time as she had some serious legal issues boiling over at the time. In July, she turned herself into the police in connection to a shooting, and more charges, they would be added after an alleged assault and witness tampering, an incident that happened the following month. Now, she was convicted on 3 charges and remained in prison until 2014. While Nicki was becoming a superstar, well, Remy was locked away behind bars. But Remy, she didn't forget the insult. She told an interviewer in 2010, "To this day, I still feel the song is a stab at me. I'm gonna diss her back for that one." Remy Ma was released in August of 2014, and one of the biggest hits in the world at the time was a song called Bang Bang. And that was Nicki's collaboration with Jessie J and Ariana Grande, which would go on to be certified platinum 6 times over. Then 3 days later, Nicki Minaj, she would release Anaconda. Now, I remember when that single and the cover art were first released, it was the biggest ass I'd ever seen in my life. But enough with the buns, let's get back to the beef. At first, the two would at least pretend to be supportive of one another, but eventually the disses started to creep out. They exchanged a few blows with money showers and make love, but the standout smackdown in the beef came with Remy Ma's Sheether. In the track, Remy took shots at Nicki's career, her sex life, her family, and she made claims about her. Well, I'll let my girl Wendy break it down.
About Nicki's butt. I mean, you know. Come on.
I love me some Wendy Williams. Now, Remy would actually later appear on the Wendy Williams show and accuse Nicki of keeping her off of red carpets and making sure awards didn't go in her direction. Now, Nicki would call her a liar in the song No Frauds, and while the beef never seemed to get settled, at the time of this recording it simmered down below a boiling point. And while the feud with Remy Ma has been the longest lasting, it certainly isn't the only one she's dealt with. Now, shortly after the release of Pink Friday, well, Nicki was attacked by Lil Kim, who said of Nicki, "If you're gonna steal my swag, you're gonna have to pay. Something gotta give." Now, Nicki eventually responded in an interview on Hot 97 where she said, "She picked a fight with Foxy, then she picked a fight with Eve, she picked a fight with Remy, then it was Miss Wallace, then it was Nicki Minaj. Every time you in the news, it's cause you getting at somebody. Where's your music? Put your music out, and when I see your name on Billboard, that's when I respond to you." She did seem to respond to her eventually with the track Roman's Revenge. Lil Kim fired back with the track Black Friday, and in the cover art for her mixtape of the same name. As you can see, it seems to depict Lil Kim decapitating Nicki. Jeez. A more unusual beef would also emerge with the cover art for Nicki's Lookin' Ass N-Word. Yeah, Malcolm X's daughter, Elisa Shabazz, well, she was pissed off about the use of the picture of Malcolm, especially since the title included the N-word. After some backlash, Nicki apologized via Instagram, explaining that this wasn't the official artwork, and that it was getting misinterpreted. In part, the post read, "It is in no way to undermine the efforts and legacy. I apologize to the Malcolm X estate if the meaning of the photo was misconstructed. I have nothing but respect and adoration for you." Even after the apology, Nicki did go on to make some remarks about Malcolm's daughter in a mixtape recording, but overall the issue, it seems to have settled.
I knew that Nicki Minaj just didn't know any better, because I know that Nicki, especially coming from New York, she loves Malcolm X.
Still, Nicki's beefs would continue. Her 12-year relationship with Safari Samuels, well, that ended in 2014, and the breakup, it was a messy one. Now, both accused the other of infidelity and other issues, and just like in high school, well, they both clamored to claim that they were the one who dumped the other. And in an interview with The Breakfast Club, well, Safari stated, "I just got to the point where the respect wasn't there. Everyone around her works for you, you know? So it got to the point where it was like, I'm your man, I'm who you go to sleep with every night, I'm who you wake up with every morning. And it got to the point where I was being treated like an employee, instead of like her man." That's embarrassing. Now, through the years, the drama continued. Safari covered up tattoos he had of Nicki, and when she started dating Meek Mill, well, TMZ reported that friends close to Safari were claiming that he was openly talking about suicide. Then there was the first Twitter spat, in which she called him corny. In 2015, he implied that he co-wrote all her songs, stating, "Don't say I have no talent, because every time it came to writing raps and doing music, it was me, her, and the beat. She doesn't do it by herself." He would later take this back, admitting he didn't write her raps and blaming people for misinterpreting what he said. Then came Safaree's diss track Love the Most and Lifeline. He also tried to sue her. Now more recently, the beef got real after Nicki talked about the relationship with Funkmaster Flex. From there, the fight spilled over onto Twitter with Nicki accusing Safaree of stealing her credit card and airing out some shit about him getting his hairline fixed. Now that's all fun and games, but it got pretty serious with Safaree tweeting, "Remember the night you cut me and I almost died? The police and ambulance had to take me out the crib on a stretcher. I had to lie and tell them I was trying to kill myself so they wouldn't take you to jail. When things like that start happening more than once, it's time to dip." Now I don't know if that's true or not. Nicki of course denies it. On one hand, the details are really specific. On the other hand, well, he did openly talk about suicide not long after. So I don't know. It's anyone's guess. Either way, apparently the beef got so aggressive that the MTV VMAs, well, they had to beef up their security and stuff to ensure that the artists were kept apart. And while we're about to get into the juggernaut of all beefs, I'm talking about, well, the woman Nicki Minaj is probably sick of hearing about, Cardi B. But before we do that, it looks like it's getting a little smoky in here. You've all heard of Candy Pens, right? Well, if the name doesn't ring a bell, I got a good feeling you've seen them before.
Whoa, I came from the bando. Baby. Don't you know, girl, I am the one for you.
Oh. Candy Pens was named Best Vaporizer of 2018 by High Times due to its combination of popular technology and flashy design. And Candy Pens, well, they're quickly becoming the go-to choice for vaping in the hip-hop and rap community. They've got co-signs from DJ Khaled, Fatboy SSE, Young M.A, Amber Rose, and A$AP Rocky. He has his own line called the Flacco Jody Collection. And Amber Rose, well, you may have seen her billboards all over Los Angeles because she's promoting her own signature line. Now, Candy Pens, they are for those 18 years and older, and seeing as I'm the official YouTube ambassador, well, they've given me the ability to give you 25% off your entire order during checkout. There's a link down below. Use the promo code BTWF25. I'm also just realizing this is the first time I haven't worn my fur jacket. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. I miss it. For real. All right, let's get back to the beef. We're gonna talk about Cardi B. Now, it's almost hard to distinguish this as actual beef. It really depends on who you ask, or who asks one of these female artists and what they asked them. Anyway, during a Q&A with Tidal, well, Nicki Minaj, she said this.
A big push from a label does not make you great.
Cardi B clearly interpreted that as shots fired, so let's take a look at her response. And as a bonus, well, there's a lot of boobies in this clip.
Ban this free speech right now! Ban it!
Oops, sorry, wrong clip. Here it is.
When you build a fan base, they're gonna wanna buy whatever you give them. And nobody, no label could buy that shit. If everybody could have a number one, then why not everybody have one?
Now this beef is kind of an overhyped thing. I mean, they're both big female rappers, they're both from New York. People have been kind of looking for a beef, and I don't think there's much behind it. When asked about it in an interview with Ebro, well, Nicki even stated, "No, I didn't know Cardi and I had an issue, but I guess we do since you're saying it and other people are saying it. To me, she may have taken an issue with things that I've said, but I'm not gonna bite my tongue. You gotta have thick skin. People talk shit about me all the time. You can't be expected to be liked and loved and praised all the time. Give me a break." Of course, Nicki hasn't just faced hardships because of her fights, she's also been attacked because of her friends. Now, numerous articles were written about Nicki Minaj's collaboration with 6ix9ine, critical of the cosign because of the controversial past. You know, Treyway. Now, one Pitchfork article, well, it claims she was normalizing predatory behavior, and went on to read, "The choice to use her platform to further legitimize a sexual predator is in direct contrast with the nationwide black woman-led movement to silence music's most infamous abuser." They're talking R. Kelly. If this pattern of normalization continues to seep into our culture, by the time the magnitude of the damage is determined, it will have caused irreparable harm to society. And while she was facing criticism for supporting Tekashi, she also faced criticism for not backing him enough, with Drake clowning her for the track.
And you are...
What's our song called again? Fifi?
Tekashi responded telling his fans, "Everybody go comment on Nicki Minaj's page and tell her 6ix9ine don't want to be with you no more." So mind you, all these last beefs, they're all stewing at the same time. In August of 2018, Tekashi recently told Nicki off. Then Nicki and Cardi, their quasi-beef, it's still happening, and she's fighting Safaree again. So you know what that means? Well, it's a fantastic time to put out a new album. And of course, she dropped Queen on August 10, 2018, in midst of all this heat. Then the official numbers started coming in on Sunday, August 19th, and they're really good. She had her largest streaming week ever with 128.7 million on-demand streams, and her album also debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200. This is amazing news, but over on Twitter, well, Nicki seemed pretty pissed. So let's take a look at, well, some of her tweets. First, she went after Travis Scott, who had the #1 record, and she complained that he sold a tour and album bundle. You know, that's pretty smart. Also, it was promoted by Kylie Jenner, which got him an extra 50,000 sales. So that's enough to, tip him into the first place. Nicki's not happy. She then talks about apparently losing out on 12 hours of sales. More on the Travis thing here, this time talking about clothes sales. Again, here she's talking about Travis Scott and Kylie Jenner again. She's saying Queen is actually #1. Then she goes after Spotify, and it gets pretty weird. Spotify puts Drake's face on every playlist, but told me they'd have to teach me a lesson for playing my music 10 minutes early on Queen's radio, even though they've been giving away my music for free for years. And I'm one of the top Spotify artists of all time. Spotify had to teach me a lesson, but rewarded the man who has had an Apple radio show the longest. They took away my promotion they had promised for the first CPL days because of this. My music went up on Apple, so I played it. I assumed it was on Spotify and Tidal at the same time. Then she goes after her label for not backing her. My label didn't want to defend me for fear of Spotify trying to teach Ariana a lesson too. That's actually really creepy. I mean, if Spotify is pushing their weight around and controlling artists like that, that is super messed up. And even Nicki's label, they're afraid of them. But hey, the rant, it ain't over yet. Do you know how many people subscribe to my Spotify page? I don't actually, and I'm the facts god. I'm sure it's a lot. Do you know how many women get systematically blackballed out of their positions in an office building and can't fight back? Wait, are we still talking about Spotify? What just happened now? Now, after all this, some people thought that she was upset or something, but Nicki quickly took to Twitter to explain that she was just chilling. People are calling me thinking I'm huffing and puffing. Oh my god, y'all, this is sarcasm/dry humor. Yikes, I'm having the most iconic time. Come let me kiss you. Who's coming to the secret show? When people call me and hear me cracking up laughing, they seem so puzzled. Loosen up. Okay, if you're confused, you're not alone. But Nicki said a few times that she'd be cleaning this up on Queen Radio, which should be happening, well, around the time I launched this video.
Born as Jayla on August 14th, 1998 in Tampa, Florida, Doechii has always been a vibrant soul with a passion for creativity. Growing up in a lively household with her mother and 2 younger twin sisters, she learned early on how to embrace her individuality.
But it's just kind of in me and it's in my DNA, and that makes me feel really proud.
Her family was filled with energy. Her twin sisters, who she describes as lovably obnoxious, were equally creative. They painted, wrote, and encouraged Doechii to express herself, shaping her into the artist she is today. In 6th grade, Jayla faced bullying for her name, which inspired her to create a new persona, Doechii. This transformation wasn't just a name change, it was her way of reclaiming her identity and projecting confidence. She even wore a tutu to school, symbolizing her commitment to self-expression and proving that she wouldn't let anyone dim her light. Doechii's musical journey began during her teenage years, where she showcased her talents by posting covers and original songs on YouTube. She found comfort in expressing herself through music, crafting her style and voice along the way. Her dedication and hard work quickly gained traction, but it was her freestyle challenge over Monica's So Gone in 2016 that caught the industry's attention. This pivotal moment pushed her to consider a serious career in music, leading to the release of her first track, El Chapo, on SoundCloud. The track reflected her lyrical efforts and her ability to blend confidence with vulnerability, marking the start of her journey as a serious artist. In 2020, Doechii released Yucky Blucky Fruitcake, which would become a viral sensation. The song's catchy hook and relatable themes resonated with audiences, sparking a TikTok trend involving yearbook photos and nostalgia from childhood. This viral moment brought her into the spotlight and caught the attention of major record labels, changing the trajectory of her career overnight. The nature of the track, inspired by the beloved Junie B. Jones children's book, showcased her ability to tap into a youthful world while maintaining authenticity. Following this breakout success, she quickly released Crazy in 2022, a track that challenged conventional notions of beauty and body image. The music video for Crazy, directed by Sarah C. Prince, sought to reframe women's bodies not in moments of sexuality, but instead in moments of truth, intensity, and power. However, despite its empowering message, the video faced censorship on YouTube due to nudity and violence, highlighting the ongoing struggles artists face in representing their visions authentically in a media landscape often brought with limitations. Doechii's success didn't stop there. She followed up with Persuasive in 2023, a track that earned a remix from none other than SZA, further solidifying her place in the industry. With lyrics that explore themes of empowerment, self-acceptance, and the complexities of womanhood, Doechii quickly became known for her ability to tackle complex topics while keeping her sound fresh and engaging. In a historic move for both herself and the label, Doechii signed with Top Dog Entertainment, or TDE, becoming the first female rapper to join their ranks. Known for nurturing artists like Kendrick Lamar and SZA, TDE provided her with a platform to fully express her artistry. Doechii's decision to work with an all-black team reflected her commitment to representation in the industry, a value she holds dear as she navigates her career. She has stated, "It was important to me to join a label that understood my vision and my experience as a black woman in this industry." But the path to success wasn't without its challenges. In late 2019, Doechii faced a creative block that forced her to explore unconventional methods for inspiration. She turned to tarot cards and self-help books like The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, which guided her through overcoming creative obstacles. This personal journey was crucial in shaping her artistry and fueled her determination to share her authentic self through music. Her willingness to embrace her vulnerabilities and explore her identity resonated with fans, creating a deeper connection with her audience. Her sophomore EP, Oh the Places You'll Go, in 2020 was a pivotal project for Doechii. It showcased her journey towards self-acceptance, particularly regarding her bisexuality. The EP represented a significant milestone in her personal growth as she courageously addressed her identity in her lyrics. The title itself is a nod to Dr. Seuss, containing the childlike wonder that fills her work. Each song is infused with bubbly synths and playful themes, from the Dr. Seuss-inspired title track to her energetic melodies. As of 2024, Doechii has released several new tracks that continue to capture her dynamic style and bold approach. Songs like What It Is from 2023, From Halloween Party 2023, and Rocket in 2024 showcase her versatility, blending genres and pushing the boundaries of contemporary hip-hop. Booty Drop from Sex Music 2024 is another testament to her creativity, demonstrating her ability to create catchy, fun tracks while staying true to her roots. In August 2024, she released her fourth EP, a project that fans have been eagerly anticipating. This busy schedule underscores her rising influence in the music scene and her unwavering dedication to her craft. Doechii has repeatedly shown that she's not just a fleeting trend, she's a force with lasting power. Doechii's family has been a key part of her journey. With her mother moving from Georgia to Tampa to support her, the family dynamics play a vital role in her life. Her mother's encouragement and belief in her potential have fueled Doechii's ambition. She often reflects on the lively atmosphere of her childhood home, where her twin sisters brought their own creativity and energy to the mix. The sisters not only inspired Doechii, but also contributed to her artistic process. She recalls recording a song with one sister, further reinforcing the bond they share as they navigate the complexities of life and art together. Doechii was recognized as a standout talent in hip-hop, earning a nomination for Best New Artist at the BET Awards. This nomination places her among some of the industry's best, including GloRilla, Ombre, Coco Jones, Ice Spice, and Lola Brooke. Doechii's inclusion in this lineup highlights her rapid rise and the respect she's earned among her peers. Her performances at various festivals have captivated audiences, where she's known for her energetic stage presence and bold moves. At one show, she even made headlines by removing her wig mid-performance, a powerful statement of authenticity and self-acceptance. It's moments like these that connect her deeply with fans, as they see her unapologetically embracing her true self. She once said in an interview, "When I'm on stage, I'm just me. I want my fans to feel free to be themselves too." Doechii's impact on the music industry is undeniable. She stands as a role model for aspiring artists, especially those who feel like outsiders. Her journey of self-acceptance and commitment to representation resonates with many, empowering them to embrace their identities. She uses her platform to address issues like mental health, body positivity, and LGBTQ+ representation, proving that music can be a powerful catalyst for change. As she continues to evolve as an artist, her unique voice and personal experiences will undoubtedly contribute to the broader narrative of modern hip-hop. With her upcoming projects and performances, it's clear that Doechii is just getting started. The future is bright for this talented artist, and fans can't wait to see where she goes next. I know I can't.
Cardi B was born Bacallus Marlenis Almanzar, as you can see I had trouble saying that, on October 11th, 1992 in the Bronx, New York. Now I know I almost definitely said her name wrong, as I've apparently gotten a reputation of doing so since starting on this channel, so I'm going to refer to her as everything but her real name moving forward. Cool. Cardi's father is from the Dominican and would support Cardi and the family driving a taxi, while her mother, who is Trinidadian, worked as a cashier. Cardi also has a younger sister, Hennessy Carolina Almanzar, born in 1995, who would inspire Cardi's rap name. Growing up, people would call Cardi Bacardi because of her sister Hennessy. Cardi would roll with it, even making her Instagram handle Bacardi B, but after her account would keep getting suspended, she decided to eventually shorten her name to Cardi B, as we know her. According to the rap goddess herself, the B stands for whatever, depending on the day, beautiful or bully. Cardi, if you're watching this, I think you're the best, so please don't bully me. She was on Jimmy Fallon explaining the situation, as you can see right here.
For some reason, my Instagram keep getting deleted, and I think it was Bacardi that had something to do with it. So I just shortened it to Cardi B.
Cardi would spend much of her time with her paternal grandmother in Washington Heights, which is who she also credits for her thick accent. But she also blames her tongue for the way she speaks.
I think I talk so funny because I have a big ass tongue. I think like my tongue is bigger than my mouth. Like I don't think it fit in my mouth because sometimes it just roll out the carpet.
And when she's not blaming her tongue, well, she claims it's a mix of her parents' accents and where she grew up.
I was raised in the hood, so I speak really slang with my parents' accent.
Regardless, everyone's grown to fall in love with Cardi B and the way she speaks. This includes her famous which we're going to get into a little bit later on in this video. But getting back to her youth, Cardi remembers her school days as a pretty negative experience. Aside from the fights she used to get herself into, she seemed to be a bit of a class clown, or as she put it, just disruptive in general.
I used to be like the Junie B from like school. Like nobody used to like her. She was always interruptive, always used to get in trouble, and I didn't understand why.
But Cardi would still attend Renaissance High School for Musical Theater and Technology in the Bronx, although she wouldn't attend class too often. Growing up, she claims her parents were pretty strict with her, not allowing her to go out to parties and stuff too often, so she'd find herself skipping class to hang out with friends. But we were able to find a video of Cardi from her talent show back in 2010. Here you can see a young Cardi rocking the stage with backup dancers. Cardi's mom would kick her out of the house a few weeks before her 18th birthday, which would force her to start working at Amish Market, a deli where she would make $200 a week. Now at 18 years old, Cardi would decide to go to college and enroll herself at the Borough of Manhattan Community College, studying political science, but dropped out before earning a degree. Between her job and the courses, it seemed too much for Cardi at the time, whose main focus, as it still is, was making money and hustling. Cardi would eventually get fired after showing up late and giving her friends too many discounts at the deli, and that's when her stripping career started. In an interview with Days Digital, Cardi said, I quote, "I was crying hysterically, like I need a job, how am I going to make money? The manager told me to go across the street to the strip club and dance, saying I'd make so much money and had a nice body, and ever since then I was dancing, Tuesday to Sunday, every day up until last year." The interview with Dazed was dated in September of 2016, but in other interviews, Cardi claims to have worked stripping for 7 days straight at some points. But she didn't mind because it changed her life.
I don't recommend it. I don't tell girls to go do it.
Yeah.
But it's just like I'm not even gonna front. It really saved me.
Now it seems like Cardi always had a place in the performance world. Between her looks and her personality, people loved Cardi and still do. As she would entertain those in a strip club over time, she would also build quite the following online and in the strip club circuit. This would help Cardi's financial situation, which would also help her leave an abusive boyfriend who she would sleep on a bug-infested bed with. But according to her mom, she was making her money babysitting for rich white people.
I told my parents that I was babysitting some really rich white folks' kids.
And when her mom found out the truth, well, there have been reports that Cardi's mom actually threw her or kicked her down a staircase, but it turns out it was just a push that caused Cardi to trip and eventually fall downstairs. Cardi would also begin uploading videos to Vine and Instagram where she would see some success by growing a following, and with the help of a shout out from Bobby Shmurda, and posting videos of, well, just her being her.
Hi there, my name is Cardi B, and I am here to talk to you about how you can suck my
Cardi would continue to grow her online brand, and eventually she'd have a big enough following that she'd stop stripping altogether and she would just MC or host evenings at different strip clubs. Over time, her following would keep getting bigger and bigger, and Cardi would finally get her big break, or so she thought. Cardi would be cast on Love and Hip Hop, New York, have a small role, but she would definitely leave a big impact and an everlasting impression.
My name is Cardi B. You might know me as that annoying dancer on social media. They be talking hella crazy with the long nails and the big old titties. But I'm just a regular, schmegular girl from the Bronx.
Although it didn't turn Cardi into the megastar she thought it would, it was definitely the start of the Cardi B we know now. With influences ranging from the likes of Missy Elliott and Lauryn Hill to Madonna and Lady Gaga, Cardi had decided it was her turn to take a shot at the music industry. She has also credited Puerto Rican rapper Ivy Queen and Jamaican dancehall artist Spice as influences as well. Her musical debut was made in November of 2015, being featured on a remix of reggae singer Shaggy's Boom Boom alongside Popcan. You guys remember Shaggy, right? That song, It Wasn't Me? That was my jam. Saw me banging on the sofa? Wasn't me. She even caught me in the shower? Wasn't me. Stop it! Cardi would make her music video debut on the song Cheap Ass Weave, which was Cardi's remix of the song Queen Speech 4 by Lady LeSure. Now it wouldn't be long before Cardi would release her first mixtape, Gangsta Bitch Music Volume 1, which would be released on March 7th, 2016. In November of the same year, she would be featured on the digital cover of Vibe magazine's Viva issue, and on January 20th, 2017, Cardi would drop a sequel to her mixtape series, Gangsta Bitch Music Volume 2. Just a month later, Cardi would partner up with MAC Cosmetics and Rio Europe's Gypsy Sport during New York Fashion Week. And just a few weeks later, Cardi would sign her first major record deal with Atlantic Records. Yow. Alright, enough of that. In May of 2017, Cardi would be nominated at the 2017 BET Awards, where Cardi would be nominated for Best New Artist and Best Female Hip Hop Artist, but she would lose out to Chance the Rapper and Remy Ma respectively. That being said, the achievement of even being nominated was enough for Cardi to be invited to perform on stage during Hot 97 Summer Jam Festival, alongside Remy Ma, the Lady of Rage, MC Lyte, Young Ma, Monty Love, Lil Kim, and Queen Latifah. And on June 16th, 2017, Atlantic would release Cardi's commercial debut and smash hit, Bodak Yellow.
I don't dance now, I make money moves. Hey, I don't gotta dance, I make money moves. If I see you and I don't speak, I don't live with.
Now I never heard that version before and I just thought it was too funny not to include in this video, but good job to Miley for smashing that. In August of the same year, Bodak Yellow would reach the number 2 spot of the US Billboard Hot 100s and number 1 on the Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart. Cardi would eventually hit the number 1 spot on the Hot 100 chart on September 25th, 2017, becoming the first solo female rapper to do so since Lauryn Hill. Bodak Yellow would eventually be certified quintuple platinum, meaning 5 times, and that's a word I've never said before, so I probably said it wrong. But Cardi would continue to dominate the charts after collaborations with G-Eazy on No Limit and the Migos Motorsport. She became the first female artist and female rapper to have her first 3 entries on the Billboard and Hot R&B and Hip Hop charts in the top 10.
Oh my God!
Cardi would go on to collaborate with Bruno Mars on the remix of his hit song Finesse, which would eventually also peak on the charts for weeks, and as many of you guys know, eventually marry one of the 3 Migos, Offset, who would propose to her in front of thousands of people live on stage during the Power 99 Powerhouse concert in Philly. Gotta give a shout out to Philadelphia, the Eagles. My dad's from Philly, so I'm a big Eagles fan. If you guys are an Eagles fan, let me know in the comments down below, and if you're a Cowboys fan, then I hate you. The two would eventually give birth to their daughter Culture, who you can see makes regular appearances on Cardi's Instagram page. Cardi and Nicki Minaj would also have beef throughout the years, but it seems like it might have finally come to an end. Not really. I mean, until they make a song together, I don't think this beef will ever actually end. But this is before they were famous, so we're not going to get too much into their drama. If you guys want to hear about the history of the Minaj-Cardi beef, let us know in the comments down below. We can make a video on that too. And as previously mentioned, Cardi would trademark her "okrr" in March of 2019 because, well, what a smart move. I mean, it's her own language and she's got to make more money off it. The girl's making money moves. Doja Cat was born Amala Zandil Dalami on October 21st, 1995 in Tarzana, California. Now before we go any further, let's just dig into that first name and find out the meaning behind it.
Yeah, so in Spanish it means love her. People have told me that it means bird, song, and pure in Arabic.
It's beautiful.
And I didn't know that till I was like 16 or something. My mom lied and said it meant immaculate jewel without flaw. I'm like, I like that. Mom, stop. Like in my whole life, I was like, Mom, stop.
So whether her mom lied to her or not, well, that's a strong name, but maybe not as marketable as something like Doja Cat, which we'll explore the origins of in just a minute. Now, soon after being born, Doja, she almost immediately moved to the Bronx in New York with her family. Her father, Dumasami Delami, was born in Durban, South Africa, and he's an actor, dancer, composer, and even a successful film producer. He's produced South African films, including Drum and Homecoming. Her mother, Deborah Delami, is Jewish American and a visual designer for clothing brands. Now, she also spent time pursuing her own artistic designs as a painter. Now, with heritage like that, I think it's pretty safe to say that Doja, well, she comes from an artistically inclined bloodline. So her ending up as the uber-talented musician that she is today, well, it probably shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. Growing up, Doja, she spent a lot of time taking dance classes, but her true passion was singing, a secret she tried keeping to herself by only ever singing in her room when she was alone. Now, at the time, her musical influences, they range from Jamiroquai to the Fugees, and we're talking about D'Angelo. Remember him? Also, Erykah Badu and Pharrell. When she was 9 years old, her mom bought her an Amy Winehouse CD, and that had a huge impact on her. She then started exploring music all on her own, and she discovered acts like Lil Kim, TLC, Party Next Door, and Drizzy Drake. Outside of music, she was always watching something with a goofy sense of humor, whether it was classics like Disney cartoons, Sesame Street, or even Jim Carrey movies like The Mask. Smokehead! I think it's pretty safe to say that even if she didn't realize it at the time, well, Doja subconsciously was absorbing all of these great influences and mixing with the wild and crazy humor that she loved from film, which probably came and played a big part in defining the music that she would make later on in life. But that all makes sense? Woo, I kind of just blacked out.
Meow, motherfucker.
Now, after spending years in New York City, Doja and her family, they returned to California, and back on the West Coast, well, her family, they moved to an ashram. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's like a spiritual temple. Now there, Doja, she found it to be, well, a difficult lifestyle. In fact, she told Billboard, "I just go to the temple all the time and I'd wear this scarf on my head and it was very cult-like. I felt really trapped. When we moved to the suburbs, that's when it felt like a free-for-all. I was skating every day, staying out, sneaking out, and it was just a crazy time. We moved from the suburbs to LA and I picked up breakdancing when I was 10. Doja's early years in dance, they were spent in ballet and jazz classes, but once in LA, she started working more on her hip hop and pop locking skills.
But like, you're nice, like if I throw it to you, if I'm like,
Yeah. It's stiff because I don't do it anymore.
Now in LA, she attended school at, well, I'll let her tell the story.
I had I went to performing arts and I went to this, it's called Central High School No. 9. But I think they changed it to Ramon Cortinez. And it's a crazy looking school. Looks like there's a water slide.
Damn.
But when you fly overhead, it makes a 9. It's like a giant 9.
And while there, she was in crews competing in dance battles across LA, the stories of which I assume is what the classic film series Step Up is based off, right? That makes total sense. What, not a classic film? Well, people around me are telling me those films aren't great films.
Are you sure about that?
But if anything's gonna give Channing Tatum his start, I gotta say it's okay in my books. I mean, they could have given the role to Kevin Federline. That wouldn't have been a good look. For a brief period of time at around the age of 14, well, Doja, she decided to try her hand at YouTube by posting makeup tutorial videos with the goal of becoming a makeup guru. Now, I couldn't find any of her old YouTube videos, but I did find this.
When I was younger, I used to make YouTube videos when I was like 13, and they were horrible. And she'd be like, "What are you doing? Like, you can't be on the internet at 13.
It's just uploading.
Like, you can't be on video at all."
Now, I don't know how many Amala Delamis are out there, but seeing as this girl cited her as her twin, well, I'm assuming that video was made for her. That video is from 2009. Now, as mentioned, her mom pretty quickly shut down her YouTube dreams, not trusting the YouTube space at the time. So she made her daughter remove all of her videos, and who can blame her? I actually remember when YouTube, it was an embarrassing place to post content. Now Doja, she didn't let this keep her down for long. She pretty quickly moved on to her next dream, making music full-time. Now in the 11th grade, Doja, she dropped out of school so she could pursue this goal. Once out of school, when she wasn't hanging in trap houses, well, she otherwise lived a pretty low-key lifestyle. She spent a lot of time alone in her room making music for a year straight. Now, she would spend all day laying on a mattress on her floor using a computer with a built-in mic, and she would record songs to GarageBand over instrumentals that she would stumble upon on YouTube. At this time, she came up with her artist moniker of Doja Cat because, well, I'll let her tell you. Despite her name being what she refers to as a high thought, well, Doja, she's actually been sober for over 2 years now.
Don't smoke weed? I quit. I don't smoke weed. I don't smoke cigarettes.
Good for you.
I drink, but, you know.
Drink and watch porn.
Yeah, I drink and I watch porn. Those are the two sinful things that I enjoy doing.
Drinking and porn. I've actually quit one of those too. If you can guess which one, I owe you a follow. Now, even though she isn't smoking or doing drugs anymore, at least we still get Instagram live videos where she isn't afraid to express her love after having had a few drinks.
Because you were literally humping his back.
Yeah. I don't know what drives me to do that when I'm lit. But I like backs or something, I guess.
What were you
deep down,
drinking?
subconsciously.
What did you drink?
I think I had probably tequila, probably like 2 or 3 shots of tequila and maybe like a mule or something like that.
Back in her bedroom, Doja, she got into the habit of making a song, posting it to SoundCloud, leaving it up for a week or so, only to then take it down after feeling insecure about how it turned out. Now, eventually, they began to click. In 2013, she released her debut single, So High, onto SoundCloud, and while it didn't blow up immediately, she did see it get a repost, and that was enough encouragement for her to leave it up there and not take it down. Slowly but surely, it began to bring her in a new audience. Now, the song went from 12 views to 12,000, and now it has more than 5.2 million listens on the platform. Ever the diligent worker, Doja, she kept developing her sound and style while posting her music online and working local shows in LA. Growing her audience so high, it picked up enough steam to catch the ear of record label RCA Records, and the song found its way onto the Empire soundtrack when Doja was still just 18 years old. By 2014, Doja was signing a deal with RCA and releasing her debut album, Purr. That's with 3 R's and an exclamation point. It's a brrrr, purr, I can't do it. After that release, Doja's buzz began to die down a little bit. She fell back into the safe haven of making music alone in her room and was struggling to come up with a fresh new sound. Now, it was around this time that her boyfriend at the time, he bought her a surprise gift that would change her life forever. No longer being with her, we all owe that guy a debt of gratitude, because without him, who knows if the world ever would have got Moo or Juicy. Now, there's no doubt that Doja's talent is the reason she is where she's at, but sometimes we all just need a little push. You know what I mean? Thanks to feeling reinvigorated in a musical sense, Doja would hit on her first taste of mainstream success after dropping the viral hit video for Moo. Now, sensing where the world was headed, Doja knew that if she was able to combine a banging track with a memeable video, she would have instant success on her hands. And boy, did she ever do that. Now, the inspiration for the song apparently came from the outfit she wears in the video. Now, after she had brought it on tour with her and was trying it on for her fans via Instagram Live, she had the epiphany that a whole song about wanting to be a cow, it could be a big hit. Sometimes it's easy to confuse genius with lunacy. It's a fine line. That's really all I'm saying. Moo got co-signs from the likes of Chance the Rapper, Katy Perry, and Chris Brown, and the video is currently sitting on a whopping 68 million views on YouTube at the time of this recording. But of course, as soon as someone makes it big in this world, there's a few 100,000 of us looking to tear them down. Not me, but people on the internet. With a goofy sense of humor like Doja's, it was only a matter of time until cancel culture, they focused its wandering eye on her.
I think that it's a lame culture. I think that, but there's good intent behind it. The only thing is, it gets out of hand because it's like there's people who they, in the same breath, standing up for some people, also bring people down and cause fear and anxiety, and that where it's not needed. I don't think that people need to be bashed over the head a million times about something. I think it's about talking about the issue and educating people on the issue instead of trying to make them hate themselves. Why is that the solution,
Social justice warriors managed to locate some old tweets of hers from high school that used some offensive and homophobic language. Now, most of us would probably have said something about how we were different people when we were younger, less wise. But Doja, she took another route. She doubled down on her language, often using those same derogatory terms with her apology to the people she offended. So yeah, that just seemed to make things a whole lot worse. At the very least, as the years have moved on, it seems that she's learned from this experience.
But now I understand it's not a good idea to be throwing stuff around.
You don't say.
You don't
say.
Yeah.
Now, the internet may have tried to cancel Doja, but she just kept on kicking out new tunes and great music, like her hit song with Rico Nasty, Tia Tamera, and of course, Juicy.
You should listen to Juicy.
Juicy?
Yeah.
Juicy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about butts.
Oh.
Both videos have fallen in line with Moo as viral hits. Now, Tia Tamera has 41 million views, and Juicy, it's got over 101 million views at the time of this recording. Flo Milli was born Tamia Monique Carter on January 9, 2000 in Mobile, Alabama. Now, she grew up in that very same city listening to her mother's favorite soul artists, people like Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, and Musiq Soulchild. Now vibing off those influences, well, she began writing her own lyrics around the age of 11.
Hold on, it's real basic, so don't laugh, but we finna do it.
Girl, you were 11.
Yeah. All right, I'm ready. Walk up in the mall, all eyes on me. I get my swagger on with my J's on my feet. I'm rocking this beat, yeah, I'm rocking this beat. My swagger on 100, can't nobody touch me. I'm a 5+5, yep, shawty, I'm a 10. We made it this far, so we might as well win. Riding in my Benz, so you know I'm getting paper. I'm busy flexing on you, so I have to see you later.
Now Milli had grown up around music. In fact, most of the women in her family, they sang in church choirs, but she didn't trust her own singing voice at first. Now it wasn't until after catching the Nicki Minaj video for the song 106 in Park that Milli, she saw a different path for herself and she decided she wanted to become a rapper in the world of hip hop.
What inspired me to like really bring that type of energy was like me being picked on in high school. You know, I wasn't like no type of that just got bullied. Like I stood up for myself, but it's like when you pretty and you a bad hoes gonna hate on you. So I feel like this is just an anthem for girls that deal with the same thing that I deal with in high school.
Damn, 106 in Parks needs to make a comeback. I remember as a kid, I was like, this ain't for me, but this good. You know, I was kind of like a outside observer, loving every minute of it. Except that time that Lil Wayne and Birdman, they like kissed. That was weird. Now Flo's very first time on stage, it was a freestyle that she performed for a pep rally during her freshman year at high school. Now from that point on, she and her older sister, they began playing around with rapping, and it led to Flo forming a rap group with some other young girls that initially called itself Real and Beautiful. That's before they changed the name to Pink Mafia. Now over time, she and the other girls in the group, they grew apart, but Milli, she kept writing lyrics, keeping them in binders. Now she also stepped out of class all the time to record voice memos along with half ideas into her phone while hiding in the bathroom. Now she'd even steal time during her work hours to perfect her art, and she told Vulture, I worked at Metro and it had a speaker, I would blast beats and rap, and the people next door, it was like a tax company, they would snitch on me to my boss, like this girl is rapping all day at work. Driven by the desire to always be the best at what she does, well Milli, she developed a social media strategy for herself while she was still in middle school. Get this. Now she set benchmarks for herself and her follower count, determined to have her dreams accomplished by the time she reached 18. Now her trick, it was this. I made my Instagram page private and I would follow a lot of people that have private pages because they have to accept it, which means they also tend to send you a follow back request. I'd follow them, wait a couple months, and at like 3 a.m., when everybody was asleep, I would unfollow them and keep them in my request and build it up. Now I gotta admit, for a middle schooler, well that's pretty goddamn clever. Now by 17, she had already amassed over 20,000 followers. Now after high school, she didn't have a job and was just hanging around smoking weed, bored as hell, and playing around on YouTube when she stumbled upon the track Beef by Ethereal and Playboy Cardi. She decided to try out her own mix to the song and she dubbed it Beef Flow Mix.
It started when I was like at home one day. I was like depressed as I didn't have a job, I didn't have a car, nothing, so rapping was like my only thing to do. So I was just smoking a blunt and then I was on the floor in my room and I just turned on the beat and I just started, I like cash in my hair to my ass, do the dash, and then that's how it came.
She started off by posting snippets of it onto Instagram, and after hearing some of it, well, her followers began begging her to record it properly. Now Milli, she gave her fans what they were asking for, and the song, it peaked at 20,000 listens on SoundCloud, and then she uploaded it in October of 2018. Now the song took on a life of its own at that point forward, and fans, they began using it as a soundtrack for their own videos across Instagram, Twitter, and of course TikTok. In terms of the benchmark that Milli had set for herself, well, she was only off by about a year. After blowing up on TikTok and signing with RCA, well, Milli, she had found her breakthrough success at only the age of 19.
When my song blew up on it, like, it was so unexpected because I was like, what is this? And like, like, why is it like so many people on here? And then I started to get on there. And then like right when this pandemic came, it was like, everybody's on there. So it's like now you kind of see the value of TikTok because it did land me in a big position just by my music being heard.
Now in July of 2020, well, Milli, she released her first mixtape, Oh, Why Is You Here?, which has already featured 3 massive singles, Beef, In The Party, and Weak. In terms of why she named the album what she did, well, she had this to say. Sometimes you just have people trying to bring you down, so it's like, oh, why is you here? Are you contributing to my success, or are you, like, taking from it? Since then, she's also released tracks like My Attitude and Not Friendly, which have also racked up over 1 million streams each.
GloRilla was born Gloria Woods in Memphis, Tennessee, more specifically a northwest side neighborhood known as Frazier, an area of the city with a population of just over 45,000 individuals. As for her childhood, well, she recalls it as being fun, but at times dangerous.
Like Memphis, it was fun growing up in Memphis though. It was bad. I mean, not bad. Like, you know, the city got his
name. I know, trust me.
Yeah, type shit. But you know, I'm really proud to say I'm from Memphis, but I just don't want to stay in Memphis.
But as of the early stages of 2022, she's 22 years old, meaning that she was probably born somewhere in late 99 or early 2000. Beyond that, here's what we do know. According to her Facebook page, as a teenager, Gloria attended a whole host of local high schools, including Melrose, Martin Luther King Jr. College Preparatory, and Ridgeway High. Outside of school, Gloria found her passion for music while singing in church, where her extremely religious mother would often take her, sometimes as many as 4 times in a week. From that point forward, she had high hopes of one day becoming a singer. The only problem, as a teenager, she lost her singing voice.
I used to sing in church, and I wanted to be a singer, but I realized I couldn't sing no more. What? So, yeah, I couldn't sing no more. So I started rapping because I always wanted to be on the scene of music, you know.
Now, how exactly did that happen? Well, apparently she started smoking too much in high school, but just because one avenue closed doesn't mean that she had to give up on her dream of taking center stage completely. Instead, she decided to become the next best thing, a rapper. For about as long as it's been around, part of the beauty in rap music has been the possibility that anything can happen. At any given point, some random freestyle or new single with no chorus can ride a wave of popularity and cross over into audiences outside of that rapper's home city. And that's exactly what's happening now to GloRilla, thanks to FNF. First released at the end of April 2022, it would take a few weeks before this song blew up into an underground hit and transformed GloRilla, a talented artist who's been around for a hot minute, but one that many hadn't heard of yet, into a full-on star. And perhaps the craziest thing about it is that she recorded the track and the music video in the same freaking day.
And that's when me and her went in the booth and we just kept saying that part. And so after we got done, he was like, alright, this was at 1. We got done with the session at 1. He said, alright, video today at 4 o'clock. I said, damn! I'm talking about 4 o'clock. He said, I really want to shoot that hoe right now. But he was like, 4 o'clock.
After releasing a trailer with a snippet of the track on her Instagram page, the song was further assisted by DJ Doechii, who created a TikTok with GloRilla's bars playing in the background. And just like that, the song's popularity skyrocketed. Now, we've already discussed what the song is about, a newly single GloRilla's overwhelming desire to party, and its message that nearly everyone who listens to the song, man or woman, can relate to. Oh, so she's newly single, eh? Of course, it probably helps that the accompanying music video is chock full of her and her friends shaking ass, wilding out, getting drunk, just generally having more fun than any of us have had in the past couple years.
Who are your ratchet ass friends?
My friends in the video, they ratchet.
What's their name?
TZ, Asia.
How's TZ ratchet? What makes her ratchet?
She acts like a dumbass. And she be acting real ratchet, like she be acting like she from, you know how Memphis people act.
But here's the thing, like I've already hinted at, GloRilla's been posting music online for a while now. Inspired by her favorite rapper, Chief Keef, Gloria created her own SoundCloud account at the end of 2018 and registered it under the nickname her cousin had come up with her, GloRilla, based off of, you guessed it, her very first name.
My cousin gave me my name, cause my cousin know, like I'm really be on some savage shit. Yeah. But you know my name Glow anyway, then boom, he hit it with the GloRilla joint, so yeah.
You know, I for one really do like it when someone's rap name is a play off of their real name, especially when it's like unexpected. I really didn't think that GloRilla Pimp would be named Gloria in real life. I mean, like imagine if Young Thug's first name was Thug Naramus or something. You'd think it's a rap name, but you know, it's like, oh, it's real, yeah? Not just making shit up. It's not like your name was Chris and you like renamed yourself Clyde or some shit like that. It's not even like Clyde's like her middle name or something. Anyways, moving on. She then posted a couple of duo tracks under the name of Pretty Thugs, with titles like Where and Ride, before branching out on her own with further releases such as Solo and Favorite. Afterwards, she'd abandon SoundCloud and record and release her debut mixtape titled Most Likely Up Next, dropping it on YouTube in June of 2019. The following year, she'd move on to an EP titled P Status, which was also released on her YouTube channel. 2020 would be an even bigger year for her, and that's when she'd team up with the producer behind her breakthrough hit, the aptly titled Hit Kid, to participate in an EP of his cuts starring other Memphis-based female rappers like Slime Roni, Elzia, K Carbon, and one of GloRilla's best friends, Gloss Up. I need a GloRilla and Gloss Up track. That's dope. I bet there already is one. I need to get put on. But with as much potential as those early tracks hinted at, it wouldn't be until the release of F and F that GloRilla finally found her footing and created what's currently one of the 10 most watched videos on YouTube at this moment in time. Yes, right up there with releases from the likes of Kendrick Lamar and Future. In fact, the song has become such a hit that GloRilla has already tapped fellow MC Saweetie to appear on the upcoming remix, something that was teased with a social media post from some behind-the-scenes footage from their music video shoot. As for what's next for this talented artist who now has the entire world at her fingertips, well, I can only imagine that nearly as many record labels are lining up to throw cash at her, as she now has even her ex-boyfriends looking to get back with her. Can understand that.
So she really got done with my lashes late. I really was an hour late because he said pull up at 7. She got done with my lashes at like 6:50, and I'm all the way in Cordova. They all the way downtown. So he texted me the whole day. He like, let me know when you come up with a chorus.
Ice Spice is a half Dominican, half black woman who was born and raised in the Bronx, New York, sometime in the year 2000. Her parents first met at the cross-section of Fordham Road and Davidson Avenue, right outside of a local McDonald's. Now, unfortunately, these two wouldn't stay together to raise Ice, but they also didn't live all that far from one another. In fact, both of Ice's parents lived out of apartment buildings on the same block, and as a child, Ice would shuffle back and forth between living with her mom and abuela in one, and her father and grandmother in another.
How was your upbringing like, being from the Bronx?
It was lit. I mean, it's hectic. Right now it's hectic, so yeah, but it was fun though.
Growing up in such a volatile area would teach Ice 4 important rules. Number 1, mind your business. Number 2, stay on your toes and be aware of your surroundings at all times. Rule number 3, don't be too flashy unless you're looking for a fight or to get robbed. And last but not least, you gotta be tough, especially if you're by yourself. Taking all of that into consideration, it's probably no surprise that Ice's entire world existed in the space between her parents' 2 buildings. In fact, most of the time, she'd wind up staying indoors due to the incredibly high crime rates in the area. Now, that is where she'd wind up immersing herself in television and YouTube while nurturing her dreams of one day becoming famous, getting an early start by penning poems and a few rap lyrics since the time she was in elementary school. Speaking of school, Ice spent the first part of her education attending elementary in the Bronx, but when it came time for high school, her parents sent her to a Catholic school in Yonkers, hoping that it would be a better environment for her. Not that it really turned out that way, because let's be real, when it comes to New York City, kids are always gonna move shiesty. Now, around that time, Ice's original plan was to become an actress. Then came a passion for volleyball, something that she was so good at that she wound up going to college and becoming a member of the school team. But after a year of living that life, Ice decided it wasn't for her and altered her plans to attend beauty school, something that she never actually got around to doing.
If you wasn't doing music, what would you be doing right now?
If I wasn't doing music, I'd probably be doing hair or something like that. I don't know.
Now, that is because before she could follow that path any further, she wound up achieving her original goal of becoming famous with the help of hip-hop. Ice Spice comes by her musical ability pretty naturally. You see, her father was actually something of an underground rapper himself. And while this single fact has led to some people accusing her of being an industry plant, the truth is that Ice simply became inspired to pursue her dreams thanks to artists like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, alongside some other favorites like Doja Cat and Lil Durk. Having a dad that's an underground rapper, like really, that's how you guys conclude that she's an industry plant? That's crazy.
Who you listen to as a kid? Like, who were kind of like your biggest inspirations?
As a kid?
Yeah,
Nicki,
or growing up and shit like that.
Nicki Minaj, definitely.
Okay.
Like, Drake, like the obvious ones, like as a kid.
During her first year of high school, Ice created a fake Instagram account by the name of Ice Spice, and from that point forward, it would become her alter ego. Then during her brief time in college, she would meet the individual who would end up playing a big role in her hip-hop emergence, a Bronx producer by the name of Riot.
Why just the one-on-one?
I feel like it's just best to lock in, like with a producer and like build your own sound. Cause, no shade, but everybody be getting beats off YouTube. So it's like, it kind of feels good when everybody's like, yo, where can I find the instrumental? Like, where can I find it? And you can't.
It wasn't until meeting Riot that Ice really decided to get serious about making music for a living. Soon afterwards, these two teamed up and recorded their very first song together, a track named Bully. At that point, Riot had been sending his new friend beats for weeks. None of them really captured Ice's imagination, but then she heard the beat for Bully and couldn't stop listening to it for a month straight. After Ice took part in the Erica Banks Bust It Challenge on TikTok and wound up with over 1 million views, she figured that now was as good as time as any to capitalize on her momentum. So she and Riot hit the studio and laid down some vocals over top of the Bully beat. They recorded and finished the track in just 1 week, and then then dropped it later that month. Since then, Ice Spice and Ride have dropped 4 more tracks and picked up some considerable buzz along the way. But if you take a moment to ask Ice about her sudden rise to success, I mean, she'll tell you that it didn't really come as much of a surprise to her at all. She explained the Audio Mac, "I expected things to move faster, to be honest. I just believe in myself so much, but I think things are moving at a good pace." In other words, Ice Spice has all the tools for her inevitable success, and she definitely knows how to use them. She's not the only one that feels that way. At this still extremely early point in her career, Ice Spice has a number of accomplishments that she's still looking forward to achieving. For one, she wants to record Latin music in the very near future while also wading into the territory of pop, with the intent of creating new songs that are full of fun vibes. But her biggest goal of right now is to win a Grammy. And while she may not have accomplished those things quite yet, what she has managed to do is get noticed by none other than rap superstar Drake, who took a moment to shout out this young artist after discovering her freestyle from On the Radar. "You can't keep getting away with this, man. He always finds them. You can't keep getting away with this, man. Why does it have to be him and not me, man? He finds them way too quick." I don't know how he does it. I don't know how Drake has the time, but... Now that clip in particular went viral a few months ago and got all of New York City talking. But then the Six God picked up on the buzz and sent Ice Spice a private DM congratulating her for her newfound success. Only a short time later, Ice was spotted hanging out at a show with Drake in the city of Toronto, which one, just goes to show how fast Drake moves, and two, how much of an impression Ice is clearly making at what's still the beginning stages of her career. Still, man, Drake don't miss. Drake do not miss, man. And if that wasn't enough laurels to hang her hat on, Ice has teamed up with Riot once again to unleash the music video for her newest single, Munch. Now, as for where Ice Spice goes from here, well, she may very well be the newest member on the OVO roster, but until that moment actually comes to pass, well, we're just gonna have to keep our eyes peeled and see what happens next. Rapper Latto was born Alyssa Michelle Stevens on December 22nd, 1998 in Columbus, Ohio, to a biracial couple, Misty Pitts and Shane Stevens. At the age of just 2, her parents moved the family from Ohio to Atlanta, Georgia, where Alyssa grew up on the south side of Clayton County and bonded with her father over their shared interest in drag racing. As a kid, Alyssa was always drumming up ingenious ways of trying to earn a little extra scratch. She not only sold candy in the halls of her elementary school, but when she got a little bit older, she claims that she would sometimes make around $10,000 a night by throwing house parties and charging an entry fee at the door, while also marking up snacks like chips and soda on the inside. Sounds like Latto was a hustler from day one. During these parties, Alyssa would play the music from some of her favorite artists, not only rappers that her father introduced her to like Tupac and Bone Thugs and Harmony, as well as the NWA, but her own favorites like Nicki Minaj and Gucci Mane as well. When she wasn't flexing her entrepreneurial skill set, Alyssa enjoyed her time in school, where English was her favorite subject. Anything that had to do with writing, including poetry, metaphors, similes, or any type of wordplay, she loved it all.
Do you remember any of your first flows? Like what?
Child. Are we talking Skyline Chili? You know I would just be talking about my little life at the time or whatever. Like, I'd be talking about these girls hating on me in school, but I'm too cool.
While Alyssa was growing up, her dad was very much a street dude with a whole bunch of rapper friends. And since Alyssa was such a daddy's girl, she was often hanging out with him and a collection of unique personalities. Getting a chance to witness firsthand this type of fast living lifestyle and being around so many different rappers would inevitably combine with her love for writing to ensure that both worlds would crash together. So, inspired by her father and the music she loved, Alyssa started writing lyrics at the age of 8 in a studio that she'd often visit while spending time with her pops. That's when she'd grab a pen and just start scratching lyrics out on a piece of paper. By the time that she was in 5th grade, she was already freestyling against high schoolers and college students. Then, as she grew older, she started performing at talent shows. After earning a healthy dose of experience, Alyssa approached her father and asked him to manage her. It took some convincing, but during her career at Lovejoy High School, he eventually came around to the idea. And shortly thereafter, Alyssa earned the biggest opportunity of her young life. Knowing full well that her dream was to become a rapper, Alyssa donned the name of Miss Mulatto as a nod to her parents' biracial heritage, and created one of her very first big success stories with a jingle video that played every morning in schools all throughout Clayton County, the suburb in which she was raised. With the support of her father, she'd also drive all around the city of Atlanta in a van with a picture of her face wrapped around it, handing out physical copies of her debut mixtape, Miss Mulatto, and plastering posters of herself on buildings. I mean, it was guerrilla marketing at its finest. And guess what? It worked. Latto told the Los Angeles Times about this stage of her life. "I didn't sit in the studio, make a song, and post it on social media to have it go viral. No shade to whoever has, but I came up at the tail end of a different musical generation. We really got this shit out of the mud.
I didn't have a plan B. After making the rounds all over Atlanta, Alyssa had earned herself enough of a local reputation to get noticed by producers looking to put together a new reality series called The Rap Game.
Man, I'm 16 now. I ain't playing no more games with y'all kids. No Candyland, no more holding hands. Anybody can get it, real spit.
When this opportunity came knocking, Alyssa put her education on hold to take part in the series at only 16 years old, and found herself in the middle of a boot camp that pitted a whole bunch of aspiring young rappers against one another over an 8-week span. By the end of the series, Alyssa as Miss Mulatto was the last rapper standing. Her prize was a recording contract with producer of the series, Jermaine Dupri, and his So-So Def recordings. But in a shocking turn of events, Alyssa would turn down the contract, claiming that they weren't offering to pay her enough.
Oh yeah, being around JD, you quickly learn. Like, JD's work ethic is crazy. Like, they don't sleep at all. They take little power naps, that's about it.
For the next few years, Alyssa remained an independent artist and also opened up her very own clothing store at 17 years old. Located on the south side of Atlanta, Alyssa's shop was called Pit Stop Boutique, as a callback to her former love for drag racing, with the store mainly specializing in online orders and clothing and apparel. Telling them, people don't be knowing about that. It was super lit. It was really ghetto. It was very ghetto. But I was a baby, 17, running a whole store, and I was making bank. But soon enough, Alyssa's music career began pulling in the kind of money that she always dreamt of making. In early 2016, she released her first single, a track produced by Jermaine Dupri titled No More Talking, and that same year, she'd win the Youth Hip Hop R&B Award at the Georgia Music Awards. A year later, her music would be all the bolder and more self-assured. That's when she released her second mixtape, Latto Let 'Em Know, before closing out 2017 with an EP titled Time and Pressure. In 2018, Alyssa dropped the Miss from Miss Mulatto and officially just started going by Mulatto. In 2019, she dropped 2 new EPs in the span of just 1 year that addressed her new experiences and growth from being a teenager to a woman. Big Latto and Hit the Lotto would each feature versions of the hit track from the South, and earned her a recording contract with RCA in March of 2020. Now that she was a bigger deal than ever before, Latto got the chance to team up with one of her idols, in Gucci Mane for Moo-Wop. She'd also get the chance to work with the likes of Doja Cat, Lil Baby, and City Girls, many of whom would appear on her debut album, Queen of the South. But with as much success she was still experiencing, there was still one little problem: her stage name. For a while, Alyssa tended more or less to just brush that scrutiny off that came her way. But by 2021, she realized that she couldn't do that any longer. In May of that year, Alyssa confirmed in various interviews that she would officially be known as just Latto. In coordination with this name change, Latto would drop her single The Biggest, which she told High Snobiety addressed a controversy and, quote, came from a humble and apologetic headspace to where it's like, okay, I finally matured enough to where I was able to listen to what everybody was saying about the name. The Biggest also heralded the release of Latto's next album, 2022's 777, which further boasted the single Big Energy, the track that would become Latto's first ever crossover hit. Featuring a sample of Tom Tom Club's 1981 single Genius of Love, a track that was also famously sampled by Mariah Carey on her 1995 hit Fantasy, Big Energy would climb all the way to the number 3 spot on the Billboard's Hot 100 chart, and lead to Latto taking home the trophy for Best New Artist at the BET Awards. During that ceremony, Latto even got the chance to perform a remix of her hit right next to Mariah Carey. Shortly thereafter, she found herself nominated for multiple MTV VMA Awards and 2 Grammys, the latter of which painted something of a target on her back after it upset one of her idols in Nicki Minaj. Following Latto's Grammy nods in the category of rap music, Nicki Minaj took to social media upset that her own #1 single, Super Freaky Girl, was relegated to the pop category instead. It was Nicki's opinion that since both tracks utilize samples of pop music, then Big Energy should also be removed from the rap categories. This is when Latto tried to reach out to Nicki through private conversation, which Nicki then leaked online while referring to Latto as a Karen and a scratch-off. That's when things escalated and Latto called Nicki a 40-year-old bully, while adding that she'd been ignoring subliminal disses from Nicki for a while now. Things would only get pettier from there, with Nicki bringing up Latto's record sales, while also claiming that she declined appearing to feature on 2 of Latto's songs. In the middle of all of this, over 100 unreleased tracks of Latto's were leaked online by unknown parties. Was it done by Nicki's bidding? I mean, no one seems to know for sure, but the timing sure is suspicious. Either way, Latto bounced back soon enough with her newest single, Pussy, a track that came out in the midst of the Roe vs. Wade overturn. The single was quickly heralded for its timeliness and became a massive hit. And now that Latto has accomplished one of her lifelong goals of winning a BET award, she's setting her eyes on multiplying that win into an entire room full of trophies. But as for where Latto's career takes her from here, well, you already know what I'm about to say. We're just gonna have to wait and see.
Lauryn Hill was born on May 26, 1975 in East Orange, New Jersey to her mother Valerie, a school teacher, and her father Mal, a computer consultant. As a kid, Lauren's family moved around quite a bit, first to New York, then to Newark, before finally putting down roots in South Orange, Jersey.
I lived in a suburb where it was like, I'd say 40% black, 60% Jewish. I grew up with this very eclectic, interesting exposure to all these different cultures.
A born entertainer, Lauryn began singing at school recitals and was performing at Harlem's Apollo Theater by the time she was 13 years old. Only a few years later, she'd meet Pras Michael and his cousin Wyclef Jean, and these three would go on to form a hip-hop and soul band called Translator before eventually changing their name to the Fugees.
And it was me, myself, Pras, it was Lauryn, and it was another girl by the name of Marcy. And seeing Lauryn, it was obvious she was the next Nina Simone to a whole nother level.
But beyond her natural talents as a singer, Lauryn also tried her hand at acting from an early age. When she was still attending Columbia High School in Maplewood, New Jersey, she landed a recurring role on the television soap opera As the World Turns. How did I not know that about Lauryn Hill? Wow. God. And not too long after that, she popped up in a part of Whoopi Goldberg's Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. Joyful, joyful love. I'd never forget that part.
From Cleveland to Africa, people are just like, sing that song. I'm like, what song? Killing Me Softly? They're like, no, Sister Act 2.
But in what probably should have been the first sign that she wasn't destined for a life in the spotlight, instead of building upon her resume and entering Hollywood full-time, Lauryn decided to enroll at Columbia University in 1993. She studied there for a year before ultimately changing her mind once again and pursuing a career in music. The Fugees would then release their first album, Blunted on Reality, in 1994, but the project was met with surprisingly low sales and decidedly mixed reviews. When producer Salam Remy was brought in to spice things up with some remixed versions of the songs, a new direction and sound was found, and the Fugees began to win over fans in droves. 2 years later, they released their hugely successful project, The Score, which featured the hit single Killing Me Softly, that highlighted Lauryn's bold vocals like never before, and has killed clubs ever since. Strong in my pain. I think I hit something. The album would sell 17 million copies, making the Fugees the highest-selling rap group of all time, and earned them 2 Grammy Awards for Best Rap Album and Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group.
We'd like to thank God for teaching us how important it is to be humble, especially in this business. Thank you for everybody who supported us. The refugees make music for all people.
Now, despite the immense success the Fugees scored with that second release, they never recorded another record again in the studio. Rumors persisted that there was tension between the members and that their interpersonal relationships got messy over the years.
When you're in a group, 24/7, you're in the studio and you're doing music, there's always gonna be some form of passion which happens.
They've reunited to perform live from time to time, but most of these reunions proved to be short-lived. And the one time the Fugees tried to get back in the studio together, things did not go well at all. Pras said, "We went into the studio and recorded a couple records that were incredible, but to put it nicely, it's dead. Me and Clef, we on the same page, but Lauryn is in her own zone." So what exactly did that zone end up being? Just one of those successful rap albums ever created by a man or woman? 1998's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. This album, recorded in Jamaica, immediately established Lauryn as a headline talent. Since its release, it sold more than 10 million copies, and just this past month in February of 2021, it was certified diamond, which makes it the first to reach such heralded status since Whitney Houston's album, Whitney, reached the benchmark late last year in the history of the music industry. Only 126 albums have ever reached this benchmark. As successful as this album still is to this day, back when she dropped it in the late 90s, it was revolutionary. In fact, it was so popular it earned Lauryn 5 Grammys, 3 American Music Awards, a Billboard Award, a Soul Train Award, and an MTV Music Award. Its combination of soul and hip-hop with splashes of reggae became a mixture of elements that few artists have ever been able to recapture the magic of, and her lead single Doo Wop rocketed straight to #1 on the Billboard 100. But in the middle of the biggest success of her career, some questions began to creep in. New Art, the group of musicians who helped Lauryn provide music for the album, eventually filed a lawsuit against her for failing to credit them properly. The suit was eventually settled out of court, with Lauryn reportedly paying them as much as $5 million. Suddenly, what was once meant to be the brightest future in all of music began to flicker. Lauryn retreated into herself, and uncomfortable with fame, she instead turned to a form of spirituality that included Bible study and shying away from the limelight. Her former bandmate and friend Pras would say that her spiritual advisor offered Lauryn cult shit and it was a confusing time for everyone, herself and her fans included. When speaking to Essence about this period of her life, Lauryn said, "I don't think I ever handled celebrity. For a period of time, I had to step away entirely." As Lauryn stepped out of the spotlight, her fans began to wonder when her follow-up album would finally materialize, but it never would. Recently, Lauryn has set the record straight when it comes to what would have been her sophomore effort, telling Rolling Stone that no one at her label even contacted her to ask for another record. Was this because of all the baggage that was following her around in the early days after the release and success of Miseducation? Probably, but as Lauryn told Rolling Stone, after the Miseducation, there were scores of tentacled obstructionists, politics, repressing agendas, unrealistic expectations, and saboteurs everywhere. So yeah, I can see how if you're dealing with all of that, it might be difficult to focus on your art. But that's not to say that Lauryn didn't try at all. In 2002, she briefly returned to the scene with MTV Unplugged 2.0, a recording of a 2-hour acoustic performance, and to me, some of her best work, let's be real. But much like with the very first Fugees album, critics and fans were left disappointed. From that point on, new music became infrequent. In 2005, she recorded So High with John Legend and followed that up a year later with Say alongside Method Man. 2007's Lose Myself was her first solo single in 5 years, and she waited another 3 years to release Repercussions in 2010. In 2013, she released 2 tracks, which marked the first time she had more than 1 new song since the late 90s. Those were Neurotic Society and Consumerism. Why the sudden output? Well, it might have something to do with the fact that that same year, she was imprisoned for 3 months for tax evasion of about $1.8 million in earnings.
You eat a lot of other people's debts like I did and become financially responsible for as many people as I did. A break like the one I took was necessary.
Any comments at all?
Lauren, will there be a Chapter 7 bankruptcy filing to follow up?
Any comments for sentencing today?
Throughout the later years of her career, Lauryn has continued to tour quite frequently, often playing remixed versions of the songs from her debut album, since she hasn't created much original content over the past 20 years. So this is basically like the Rolling Stones story all over again. They only had 1 hit album instead of a handful. But more recently, Lauryn has actually popped up in 3 new tracks over the past 3 years. First, she showed up in Coming Home alongside Pusha T, then followed that up with We Got Love with Tiana Taylor and Save the Day with Mariah Carey. Does this uptick in production signal a return to the studio for what might finally turn into Lauryn Hill's sophomore album? Well, I wouldn't hold my breath, to be honest. She's known to be late. I think Lauryn is more than content to continue tweaking her original assortment of songs and focus on her family. Yeah, there's a bit of dirt slinging going on between mother and child in the news lately with her daughter, accusing her of casting a shadow of anger over her childhood. But Lauryn responded in the most level-headed way that explained this situation in more context. So is Lauryn Hill to blame for her own career never quite reaching its true potential? Most people's lives come down to the choices they make, and Lauryn has certainly made some confusing ones over the years. But it also seems to me like she had a ton of mitigating factors affecting her from the outside. Still, it sure would be nice to finally get that album. Lil Kim was born Kimberly Denise Jones on July 11th, 1974 in Brooklyn, New York. Her traumatic backstory as a youth played a large role in the persona she would develop over the course of her career. After her parents' divorce, Kim moved with mom to New Rochelle and began a period of homelessness. Due to those constant financial struggles, Kim would eventually return to live with her dad in Brooklyn, who was a former member of the military. He ran a strict household, but still spoiled his daughter, buying her Gucci threads that would make her the envy of her classmates. Still, she and her dad argued constantly. In fact, it once got so bad that Kim stabbed him in the shoulder with a pair of scissors.
And what did you do that pissed him off the most?
I think it was when I was 13 and I wanted to have a boyfriend. He called me a bitch and that was it. You know how we get. I mean, especially your father calling you a bitch. It's like, what?
So Kim eventually left again, this time on her own. She'd couch surf at friends' homes and transport drugs for dealers to make some money on the side. But everything would change for her when she first met Biggie on Fulton Street and impressed him with her rapping ability. He swept her off her feet, serving as her mentor and lover from that point forward.
Biggie was the type of person to motivate you. He always wanted anyone to succeed. He always wanted everybody to have a better life for themselves.
Around this time, she ran with Junior Mafia, the 9D Brooklyn crew assembled by Biggie, and the first song she ever appeared on was 1995's Player Anthem. When that song was released, she was still only 17 years old, but no one could question her talent or ability. Over the years, a lot of people have wondered how much of Kim's persona was her own and how much was Biggie's invention. And while he undoubtedly had a hand in developing her look and sound, the simple truth of the matter is if Kim didn't have remarkable talent to begin with, she would have never gone anywhere. Biggie's biggest contribution, if you'll pardon the pun, was that he instructed Kim to reshape the tone of her voice. At first, she rapped with a lot of bass, but after hearing how she changed her sound for the track, Backstabbers, Biggie told her softening her voice was going to be her golden ticket. And he was right. Despite being in a relationship with Biggie, Lil Kim was never the woman he was going to end up with. She had to watch from the side as he instead married Faith Evans and dated Charlie Baltimore. When she became pregnant with Biggie's kid while recording her debut album Hardcore, instead of having the child, she got an abortion. Considering everything she was going through, not to mention where she came from, it shouldn't be a surprise to learn that her early music was extremely dark and dealt with a lot of drugs and death. In fact, she eventually had to take a step back and take a break from recording altogether because things were just getting too dark. While Kim might have been losing control of some aspects of her life, she battled back by crafting her own image as a designer Black Barbie, thanks in large part to two young ladies by the name of Dion Alexander and Misa Hilton, and displayed a willingness to wear damn near anything to stand out.
You know what I want to do with my clothing line? I want to do the outfits that everyone knows me for. Like I want to duplicate the MTV, I want to duplicate the pink outfit I wore for VH1 dinner. I want to duplicate a lot of things that I wore and let people feel glamorous, you know, like they were me, you know, at that point.
God bless Misa and Dion. God bless the both of them. Pioneers. Am I right? This fashion-forward style only further built up her own reputation and legend in the industry, and by the time her mentor and partner Biggie died in 1997, she was heartbroken, but still able to carry on without him.
Biggie was everything to me at that time, and there was a lot of things that I told myself when he was alive. I wouldn't be able to make it without him, or I couldn't live without him, and God showed me like, hell yeah, watch this. And he wanted to let me know that I was a strong young woman and I could do it.
Her next albums, The Notorious Kim and LaBelle Mafia, both went platinum. Furthermore, her image influenced an entire generation of female rappers. We're talking the likes of Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Thee Stallion, all of whom have paid their respects at the altar of Kim.
The type of things that she used to say, I used to be into. Like, I always used to like the slutty talk. Like, yeah, wow, this is so cool.
In March of 2001, she joined forces with Christina Aguilera, Pink, and Maya for the remake to Patti LaBelle's song Lady Marmalade for the Moulin Rouge soundtrack, which was so hugely popular that it held the #1 spot on Billboard 100 chart for 5 straight weeks. When it won a Grammy Award for Best Pop Collaboration, Kim was now firmly established as one of the most sought-after rappers ever. Then later that year, a wrinkle entered the fold. After Kim gave a radio interview at Hot 97 in Manhattan, a man was shot and critically wounded outside of the building. According to reports, the assailants were Kim's entourage, and when the case went to trial, Kim told the grand jury that she had no knowledge that members of her inner circle had been present at the time. The problem is, the radio station's security footage would prove otherwise when it showed Kim and the men charged with the crime outside of the building.
Gutter is on some, yo, what up? You got problems with Kim? Start busting their guns.
As a result, Kim was convicted of perjury and conspiracy for lying to a federal grand jury in March of 2005. Before her sentencing, Kim said, "At the time I thought lying was the right thing to do, but now I know it was wrong." She was fined $50,000 and sentenced to spend a year in jail. While she was in prison, her 4th album, The Naked Truth, was released, which might help explain why it was the first one of her records not to go platinum. After debuting near the top of the Billboard charts, it was off the list completely within 8 weeks. Despite its relatively poor sales, critics actually adored the album, and some even called it the greatest album of all time by a female rapper. After serving 366 days in jail, Lil Kim was released from prison and struggled after the fact to get her career back on track. In 2008, she left her longtime label of Atlantic Records with the intention of going independent. That same year, she dropped some mixtapes like Miss Goat, which again was critically well received, but failed to gain much public attention. So, Kim tried new avenues to succeed. She became a reality TV star with the series Pussycat Dolls Presents Girlicious, and also competed on a Dancing with the Stars where she became such a fan favorite, people audibly booed when she was eliminated.
Lil Kim and Derek.
Well, not a happy audience here to see either of you go. Lil Kim, Derek, come on.
By 2011, she was enduring a minor feud with Nicki Minaj and dropped her Black Friday mixtape that depicted a decapitated Nicki on the cover. She'd released 2 more mixtapes, Hardcore 2K14 and Lil Kim Season in 2016, before finally releasing her 5th studio album 9 in October of 2019, after over 14 years without a full-fledged album. That same year, Kim found herself honored by BET with the I Am Hip Hop Award, and her performance that night saw her performing a medley of her previous hit songs and reminding us all just how talented she's always been. Since then, Kim has teased a new album that's supposed to be forthcoming and produced by none other than Toronto's very own Tory Lanez. But considering that man's own recent legal problems, that project might not come to pass, and everyone has been mum on it since Kim initially teased it over a year ago. She's also teamed up with UK-based fashion retailer Pretty Little Thing to launch a new collection of eye-catching and on-brand sexy pieces, including animal print skirts with ultra-high slits, plunging bodysuits, and barely there mesh tops. We love a good barely there mesh top, am I right? Further establishing herself in the world of television, she also executive produced a brand new reality TV show on VH1 titled Girls Cruise that followed her and friends on a 10-day cruise in the Caribbean.
What's better? What I gotta do?
The queen can always help me cook, man.
You know I love a man that can cook.
That's the key to a queen's heart.
Finally, but perhaps most importantly, after giving birth to her daughter Royal in 2014, Kim has suggested that her 6-year-old might one day decide to follow her mom and join the music industry. Kim has been homeschooling her daughter through the pandemic, but is already convinced that her daughter is destined to become a superstar. She has since said that if her daughter ever came to her with plans to become a rapper, then Kim would throw her entire support behind her to accomplish her dreams.
I wanted to let you know that I'm Little Kim's daughter. And every day I'm in the car because we're going home. But make sure you keep streaming my mom's #1 and the song and song.
Now you can definitely add Megan Thee Stallion's name to a long list of hip-hop stars and celebrities that have seen old tweets come back to bite them in the ass. And well, it happened to her just as she was getting set to blow. Back in 2018, not long after the release of her EP Make It Hot, well, online users began digging into this star's past on the internet, and they uncovered some troubling tweets from 2011 to 2012 in which Megan was spouting off at someone who had made her mad by using homophobic slurs. Now, these tweets were reportedly written around the time that Megan was 17, and she would have to apologize for them not once, but twice. Now, first was the summer of 2018, which is when Megan made it clear that she had grown a lot in a short amount of time and no longer judged anyone by their color or sexual preference. Then about a year later, after her name got even bigger as a result of the Tina Show EP, well, the tweets, they would resurface yet again. This time more on the line, well, Megan, she was less calm about everything being dragged into the light, and she told Twitter users that they were sick for bringing these tweets back up. And that she clearly didn't mean any harm when she posted them, like she was only a high schooler when she wrote them, was what she stated. Now, her final words on the subject was instructing everyone on Twitter to stop bringing up her old tweets. And somewhat surprisingly, well, it actually seemed to have worked. If Megan Thee Stallion actually knows how to make Twitter users conform to her will, well, that honestly might be her most impressive talent of all. Twitter's a whole different league. I don't even use it.
You might wonder why anyone that comes to the paradise that is the Maldives would want to visit this place, Trash Island.
Now, we couldn't possibly compile a list of all of Megan's biggest controversies without bringing up WAP, could I? Now, this very adult collaboration alongside Cardi B, it shocked damn near everyone when it dropped in the summer of 2020. Now, as it turns out, a large portion of the world just wasn't ready for a song entirely dedicated to a little bedroom slip and slide from the female perspective. Now, as you no doubt expected, a majority of the people up in arms were largely God-fearing Republicans, livid with the blatant sexuality and the tittling nudity of the music video. And well, they took to social media to demand that the song be banned.
For those of you out there who are wondering, what's safe? Where do I show my kids? How do I show? What do I show my kids? That's good, that's noble, that's pure, that's edifying, that's worthy.
So I'm dumb.
Yeah.
But things got stranger when even Snoop Dogg, he called the track out. Now, during an interview with Central Avenue, well, Snoop, he gave his opinion on what Cardi and Megan had done. He stated, "That should be a woman's pride and possession. That's your jewel of the Nile. That's what you should hold on to. That should be a possession that no one gets to know about until they know about it." Now, considering the online response, well, it's not any surprise that Megan had to defend her song a number of times. Now, for instance, during an interview with GQ in 2020, well, she explained that the power in the song comes from women finally taking ownership over their own body. She told them, "Some people just don't know what to do when a woman is in control and taking ownership of her own body. I feel like for a long time, men felt like they owned sex, and now women are saying, hey, this is for me. I want pleasure, this is how I want it or don't want it." Well, regardless of how much Megan might not have wanted to deal with the reception of WAP, well, it still didn't stop more people from complaining. Now, after she and Cardi B took the stage to perform the single at the 2021 Grammys, well, the FCC would receive more than 1,000 complaints in response. But for as big a controversy as WAP would turn into for Megan, well, it's still incredibly hard to argue that it resulted in anything more than a triumphant success. I mean, the track, it went sextuple platinum. Which is kind of ironic, but still, good for them. But the one controversy in Megan's career that really doesn't have much of a bright side, well, it's what happened between her and Tory Lanez. Oh, I read somewhere that he said dance. Like, come on. Now, without a doubt, one of the biggest news stories of 2020 was what went down between Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez. And this was a year in which the world entered a freaking pandemic. I mean, like this story was still even bigger than that for a while. Yet still, well, we just kept seeing tons of headlines that were like this. Anyway, it all went down on July 12th after a night of COVID-defying party hopping. And Megan and a friend, well, they were in a car with the Canadian rapper Tory Lanez, who Megan, well, she was rumored to be dating at the time. That night, Tory would be arrested for carrying a concealed weapon after Megan injured her foot on what was originally reported to be broken glass from the car. But that was eventually revealed to be an aggravated attack by Tory with his handgun. As we got further and further away from the date of the attack, more and more evidence would come to light. Their prosecutors at Tory's eventual trial, they would claim that Tory was highly intoxicated at the time of the attack, and he shouted at Megan, "Dance," before firing his weapon at her feet. Now, this is something that Tory would completely dispute. So I know I'm laughing about it because apparently it never happened. It's just like something out of a movie. I think that's where the line comes from. It was also revealed by an LAPD detective that during the trial that immediately followed the attack, well, Tory apologized profusely and begged Megan not to tell anyone what had happened, as like he was on probation, he didn't need this drama. Now, for his own part, while Tory has always denied shooting Megan, he abandoned all social media for a good long while after what had happened, before reappearing with an album called Daystar, in which he dissed Megan in a number of different songs. Now, Tory was ultimately charged with felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, personal use of a firearm, and carrying a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle. Now, if convicted, he could serve up to 23 years in prison. But his trial, it has been pushed back repeatedly, and the next date is set for April 5th, 2022. Now, in the meantime, Tory was hit with a restraining order, which would forbid him from coming 100 yards from Megan at any time. That's a breakup that went bad, for real. What I heard through like the gossip mill was that he was trying to get with Kylie Jenner, and that got her real upset. And it was just like a drunken fight. Now, when something this dramatic happens to someone, well, there's bound to be a fallout, and it was no different for Megan. Now, what happened between her and Tory, it would shatter a few more relationships in her life along the way. Now, to start, there's Megan's former best friend, Kelsey Nicole. Now, Kelsey was reportedly the other woman in the car with Megan and Tory when things went down, and in the 2020 track Shots Fired, well, Megan would allege that Kelsey was paid off by Tory's people the night of the shooting. Well, Nicole wasn't about to let this go. Now, she hit back at her former friend with a diss track of her own called Bussin' Back. Now, the cover art of which it includes several bullet holes featured prominently in glass. Gee, I wonder what she was trying to say with that. Then there's DaBaby. Now, Megan and they once collaborated on the track Nasty just prior to what went down in the summer of 2020. Now, nearly a year after, well, Megan, she was shot by Tory, and DaBaby, he not only featured Tory on one of his songs, he also retweeted a post that made light of the original incident. DaBaby would later say that the retweet was an accident, but Megan hit back by tweeting a response that support in private and public are two very different things. 2021 would continue to see the breakdown of their friendship when Megan unfollowed DaBaby on social media and then walked off stage during what was supposed to be a performance of I Did It with Baby and DJ Khaled. Small world, DaBaby followed me on Instagram. He didn't unfollow me, I got my account deleted. Just saying. This is a small little world. Now later that summer, DaBaby, he would once more bring Tory Lanez out, this time on stage at Rolling Loud, just moments after Megan herself had finished performing. But DaBaby, he didn't stop there. He then followed that up with an atrocious homophobic rant. Now, when Megan was asked to comment on the acceptance of the LGBTQ community and hip-hop in the wake of what DaBaby had said, well, she made it clear that in no way does she side with her former associate. She told People, "Representation is important, and it is really crucial for us all to have compassion and acceptance of every human." I'm glad they didn't find them tweets over at People. In a sense, we've really come full circle, haven't we? See what I did there? I mean, we started this episode with Megan being called out for unacceptable remarks to people who were different from her, and now here she is defending those same people from horrendous misconceptions. My God, she's got a fantastic PR team. Now, some of you will probably laugh and shake your head thinking that Megan's growth is manufactured and definitely not genuine, like I just referenced. But I do choose to believe that people, they can learn from their mistakes. Well, Sexyy Red was born Janae Weary on April 15th, 1998 in St. Louis, Missouri. Unquestionably a product of her environment, well, Red, she grew up saying exactly what was on her mind. Now, back in St. Louis, well, she never considered filtering the things she'd say, and without ever meaning to. I mean, she'd find herself shocking many of her friends with her colorful, let's say, vocabulary. Now, sometimes those moments, they could lead to confrontation and to some trouble, but even still, well, Red, she never held back. During middle school is when her friends, they started calling her Red for the first time, because that's when she began dyeing her hair that same color. And no, she wasn't doing so in an attempt to create an early version of her rap persona. In fact, Red, well, she never even considered rapping until she found herself cheated on by her longtime boyfriend, and she decided to write a diss track about it.
Started rapping because my boyfriend at the time had made me mad. He was fucking with a lame ass bitch. So I made a song about it. I made a diss song.
Having always been a fan of artists like Project Pat, Juicy J, 3-6 Mafia, and Chief Keef, well, the very first bars that Red would ever pen were just as hard-hitting as those male artists that influenced her. And once she played that song for her cheating boyfriend, a funny thing happened. He actually loved it. More than just that, well, he thought the song was so good that they actually encouraged her to re-record it properly and then release it. While speaking with Complex, well, Sexyy Red, she would tell them, "So I made a whole other song and went to record it, and that's when everyone was like, send me the song." And it was going around the city. They started calling me saying, "You want to come to this party this weekend? We can put your face on the flyer and give you $100. Never one to turn down a payday, well, Red, she came up with her full moniker of Sexyy Red with the help of a cameraman who thought of the idea for what I believe are some of, well, all too obvious reasons. Well, she then began accepting nearly every offer to perform that came her way as she steadily built up a significant buzz around her city. Sexyy Red would begin releasing music professionally for the first time around 2018. Now, her very first track was titled 1,000 Jugs, and it was a reworking of the Vanessa Carlton's 2002 hit 1,000 Miles. Over the next few years, she continued to release new songs like Slide while still living at her mama's house. Now, sometime after dropping a new track, well, some of her friends, they would drive by the house, they'd stop, they'd get out, and then they would twerk to her song. Now, one time, Red and her mother, they were sitting on the front porch when this happened, and Red, well, she was embarrassed, wondering what her mother must think. But it turns out her mom, she liked it. In fact, she said, "Girl, I already know you a hoe, I know you ratchet." Now, the problem was that while Red was making music with provocative titles like Slob on My C-Cat and I Love My Nickel, well, her work, it wasn't exactly finding an audience. Now, during these early years, well, Red, she would practically have to beg other people to help her out. Now, whether it was booking studio time or getting a ride to a gig, she even had to self-release her 2021 debut album, Ghetto Superstar. Bolstered by tracks like Throwin' It and Sexy following this release, well, the needle on Red's career finally began to inch forward as her social media following expanded to over 50,000 subs on YouTube, as well as over 160,000 followers on Instagram. Then came 2023, which would turn into the biggest year of Sexyy Red's life. That year, her unapologetic honesty, well, it finally turned her into a superstar when her Tay Keith produced hit Pound Town, well, it dropped in January and turned turned into an absolutely viral runaway hit. We're talking co-signs by everyone from Cardi B to Post Malone. What made the first track Red ever freestyled so popular? Well, it's pretty easy to pinpoint actually. It was the one verse that went a little something like this. My coochie pink, my booty hole brown. That colorful description of some of Red's most private body parts, well, it caught fire on social media. Now, it might be vulgar lines that earned Sexyy Red the bulk of her attention, but she considers conversations about sex to be a part of everyday life, and she's also tired of the doubled standard around female MCs. You know, girls being chastised for having sexually explicit lyrics in their songs, because the same thing seldom, if ever, happens to men. In fact, she explained to Complex, men talk about fucking bitches all day, every day in their songs, but when we get to talking about it, it's a problem. But I don't care what they think because it's not for the ends, it's for the girls. Since her breakthrough moment with Sexyy Red, she has become the latest definition of a round-the-way girl, the type of female rap artist like GloRilla or Ice Spice, whose videos are often shot at gas stations and feature some of their closest personal friends, having a whole bunch of fun while presenting themselves to be, well, as ordinary as you or me. From there, will Red's hype train continue to build when she collaborated with her good friend Summer Walker on Sense That God Gave You, as well as fellow sex-positive diva Sukihana on Born by the River. Built around a reversal of a famous Sam Cooke lyric, well, that later track earned glowing critical praise, and it prompted an Instagram following from Drake. In other words, well, Sexyy Red, she had finally arrived. Now, all she had to do was figure out, well, a way to stay there, and it wouldn't be all that difficult for her. In May of 2023, well, Sexyy Red, she would re-team with Tay Keith once more for a sequel to the original hit, appropriately titled Pound Town 2. But this time, well, they brought a little extra help with them from Nicki Minaj. According to Nicki, well, she was originally hesitant to appear on this track, but when she's decided to let go and have a little bit of fun, well, it only took her about 3 hours to write her verse.
I wanted to put out the Pound Town remix free as a freestyle. You know how I used to do just like
Drop it, on people's sheets.
From there, the single, it would become Red's first official Billboard hit when it landed on the Hot 100, debuting at the 66th spot. Now, contributing to the song's gains are its multiple edits, which include the original, as well as a sped up, slowed down, and instrumental version. Now, there's also a radio edit and a bass boosted mix. Now, furthermore, well, the song, it's been growing like gangbusters on TikTok, where it's been used over 140,000 times since its release on the platform early this year. Looking to keep momentum going, well, Sexyy Red, she followed on the heels of that single by announcing our newest album, Hood's Hottest Princess, which will not only include Pound Town 2, but also Born by the River, as well as a new feature alongside Juicy J called Strictly for the Strippers. And now that she's finally arrived, well, music isn't the only thing on Sexyy Red's mind. Now, over the course of the next few years, she plans on getting into television, selling clothes, and turning her new makeup line into a bonafide hit in an attempt to earn more money and get her young son out of the hood. If dreaming up product line names like that has you thinking Sexyy Red is too much, well, just wait until you hear about this next part of her story, because ever since she was young, well, Red, she's actually believed in ghosts. Last but not least, well, Red's sister would sometimes confront a dark shadow down in the basement while they were playing hide and seek. In other words, nearly every single person living in that home at one point or another, well, they underwent somewhat of like a paranormal experience. Now, from unexplainable ghost stories to an unbelievable rise to fame, well, Sexyy Red's story has a little bit of everything, and it's far from over yet.
And just when you think you've seen everything these women have been through, wait until you see what happens when those stories collide. Because some of the biggest rivalries in rap history are anything but friendly.
Coming in at number 5, we have a rare rap beef with some actual rapping between Tory Lanez and Joyner Lucas. For a more in-depth rundown of this video, I did a versus video on it for this channel, and it was labeled by one commenter as the whitest thing he's ever seen. And that came from a white guy. So I'll try to make this coverage a little less Caucasian. The beef started like many beefs in 2018 through Instagram. Tory Lanez was on Insta Live taking in a moment of celebration after dropping the #1 hip-hop and R&B album on Billboard, and he was feeling good about his lyrical abilities. Tory was saying that he could out-rap anyone in the game right now, until someone in the chat, who I feel like deserves a little bit more credit for igniting this whole beef, commented saying, "What about Joyner Lucas?" Tory replied with,
"Period. The Joyner kid, he's nice, but he can't fuck with me. Not on no level, period."
To put things into context, Tory was on his Free Smoke campaign telling Kendrick, Cole, and basically anybody that they could get it with his bars. And well, I don't know about all that, Tory does have a deeper history as a lyricist than most people know. Go back and look at Tory's old mixtapes, because even though his new stuff is heavily focused on melody, back in the day, all this guy did was rap punchlines and metaphors. There's even videos of him at 15 years old as a battle rapper.
Flow's retarded. But why is he cocky and his flow is garbage? Your fit is my target and not the market. I'm aiming at your ass, the left side of your cartilage. I start this, cool on this, can call a nigga August.
Either way, Joyner Lucas, being one of the lyrical purists from the new class, he didn't take too kindly to Tory's words. He told Tory that if he felt that way, then he should probably prove it on wax, and challenged Tory to pick a beat, they'd both rap over it and see who's better. Tory accepted and released a freestyle over Joyner and Eminem's Lucky You instrumental. Joyner replied with a freestyle over Tory and Meek's Liddy again beat less than 24 hours later. While Tory took the route of producing more of a lyrical showcase, Joyner decided to get personal, poking fun at Tory's height, hairline, and more. Tory shot back over the Liddy again instrumental, getting personal too. Things continued and Joyner dropped a freestyle over Kodak ZZ instrumental, where he accused Tory of biting other artists and rapped from the perspective of Tory's father. Many criticized the beat choice, but respected the bars. Tory decided not to reply to that song and declared himself the winner on Instagram. And although many fans argue that Tory didn't win, even some other rappers agree. When a fan asked legendary Detroit spitter Royce da 5'9" if Tory won the battle, he simply replied, no. Tory had some choice words replying back to Royce, but luckily, the two have since squashed it over the phone. It seems like Tory is still hungry for more beef, as he's been calling out other rappers like Pusha T, and even told the crowd in Toronto that any American rapper can get it. I guess he doesn't want any more smoke with Drake. But no matter who you think won the battle, we can all agree as hip-hop fans, it was fun to watch.
Cause today his career was over. Joyner Lucas, we killed you, it's done. Yo, let's go.
Sitting at number 4, we have what I like to call troll beef. It's the type of beef that nobody can truly be sure if any of it's real, or if the two rappers were just in it for clout and promo. I'm talking about none other than Sexyy Red and 6ix9ine. I could have made an entire video on 6ix9ine's beefs alone, which included Chief Keef, YG, all of Los Angeles, Casanova, and more. But since the man is facing legal troubles, I don't really want to shed too much light onto any more of his pending cases. I will, however, go into the hilarious beef between him and Trippie, whether it's real or not. This beef has been ongoing for over a year now. The two started out actually as friends in the industry, releasing the video for their now gold single together, Pulse 1469, on August 27, 2017.
Yeah, home alone, home alone, home alone. It's your chromosome, bitch, chromosome.
But after a picture of Tekashi standing behind a 13-year-old girl in bra and panties leaked online, Trippie wanted to distance himself from Tekashi and anything he was involved in.
I'm sorry, brother. 1400 don't promote pedophiles. We don't.
Tekashi fired right back, accusing Trippie of having sex with the then 13-year-old Danielle Bregoli, aka Bad Baby, and claimed he had a phone call to prove it, an allegation that they both quickly denied. Shortly after, Trippie got beat up in a New York hotel and accused 6ix9ine of sending his crew members to do so, to which 6ix9ine may or may not have confirmed the act.
I don't know what's going on, but I feel really bad about it. Your chin is bruised up.
The two became cool again over the summer, and Trippie even said that him and 6ix9ine are the greatest duo of all time.
Greatest duo of all time.
Most recently, however, before getting locked up, 6ix9ine was seen posing with Trippie's ex-girlfriend Alex in bed.
Look at this shit.
It is 6ix9ine, it's Treyway.
You right, man. Bobs.
And Trippie's fans didn't take too well to this, starting a 6ix9ine chant at one of his recent shows. I think I just censored myself for the first time. 6ix9ine stirred up controversy every other week though, and this was just one beef that I thought was worth highlighting. Hopefully everything works out in that man's case and for his family. Like J. Cole asked on 21 Savage's new album, he's probably reflecting on how he made it to the top, wondering if it was worth it or not. Anyways, on to number 3 on our list. I call this beef white on white crime. We have Eminem and MGK, but I do think it's worth mentioning that we had more white rapper beef just a day before Eminem's album came out, with MGK and G-Eazy going back and forth. But all of this was overshadowed by arguably the most well-known rapper in the world, dropping an album coming after basically everyone in the media and the rap game. I'm honestly just glad that I wasn't working for this channel when that dropped, because I may have accidentally said something to catch a bar on Kamikaze. He was coming for everybody, including the kid from Cleveland, Ohio, MGK. The beef stemmed from a 2012 tweet where MGK called M's daughter hot, when at the time she was only 16 years old. If I was a dad, I'd probably be pretty pissed at Kels too. MGK then accused Eminem of hindering his career for the comment, banning him from Shade 45, one of the biggest radio stations in New York and coincidentally owned by Eminem. MGK went to the opposite coast to express grievances with his idol in LA. On a freestyle with the LA Leakers, he said, "I'm my favorite rapper alive since my favorite rapper banned me from Shade 45. But according to Eminem, it was MGK's shots on Tech Nine's song No Reason that sparked the self-proclaimed rap god's reply.
Shut the f up. Shut the f up. Now I'm in this fucking weird thing because I'm like, I gotta answer this.
Either way, whatever officially made Eminem mad, he was angry enough to call out Kels on the song Not Alike. MGK replied with a full-on diss track of his own called Rap Devil, where he calls out Eminem for being washed up, angry, and having a weird beard. It does look a little off on Eminem, I'm just saying. The song landed at #1 on the iTunes charts, and the video, which was released at the same time, now has more than 175 million views at the time of this recording. Eminem replied 11 days later with a diss song called Kill Shot. Eminem countered the shots about his beard being weird by coming after MGK's former man bun and his rap name. But he also ripped into Kelly's lack of commercial success and basically said he never has and never will come close to Eminem's career. And not many people will. The song broke YouTube's single-day viewing record with 38.1 million plays, and it now has 209 million views on YouTube with the audio alone. MGK did an interview with The Breakfast Club and said this about the beef.
So there's no end to this, huh?
MGK is crazy, man.
There's no end?
Yeah.
I'm already over it. You see, I'm already over it. Binge comes out tonight.
I think the consensus was that Eminem won the battle lyrically hands down, but MGK did get a lot of credit for going up against one of the greats and holding his own when no one really expected much from him. Sometimes your idols do become your rivals. On to #2, and I only feel okay mentioning this now that their beef is finally out in the open after subtle shade for years, but I think it's safe to say that these two really don't like each other very much. In the second spot, we have Cardi B versus Nicki Minaj. There were countless moments where fans speculated that the two were throwing shade each other's way, but they kept denying any problems. Nicki could have been dissing Cardi on No Flag, but she denied those lines being about her. Cardi may have replied on G-Eazy's No Limit by asking Nicki to stop with all the subs and letting her know that she isn't Jared, but Cardi told Breakfast Club that those lines were just about 10 bitches back in the hood. Nicki even congratulated Cardi through a tweet on the success of her hit Bodak Yellow. Before anyone was throwing shoes, this beef stemmed from a lot of behind-the-scenes action. One of the most notable instances came about during the recording of the Migos hit Motorsport, which features verses from both Nicki and Cardi. The story goes that Nicki was originally on the song with Quavo and had a verse throwing shots towards Cardi. Cardi, who was dating Offset of the Migos at the time, heard the verse and asked them to tell Nicki to change the lines towards her and to put her on the song. After a leaked version of the song was played online by DJ Academics, we found out that the line in question included, "If Cardi the QB, I'm Nick Lombardi." The Vince Lombardi trophy is the name of the Super Bowl trophy and legendary NFL coach, basically saying that Cardi is just a player while Nicki is the coach and the real trophy of the league. So when Cardi heard that line, understandably, she wasn't pleased.
I heard the track.
Right.
Her verse was in Finnish. Well, it's not the verse that is on right now. And
the song ended up being released with all three Migos, Nicki and Cardi, with the two rappers being the highlight of the song. When Nicki did her first live radio appearance to promote her singles Barbie Tings and Chun-Li with Zane Lowe, Nicki was tearing up talking about how ungrateful Cardi was to be on a song with her.
And saying thank you. The first interview she did after Motorsport came out, it just really hurt me because she looked so aggravated and angry, and the only thing she kept saying was, "Oh, I didn't hear that verse. She changed her verse." Like, I was like.
The two took a picture together at the Met Gala, and it seemed like it was all love. But we all know a few girls who take smiling pictures with their worst enemies and compliment them in the comments below.
God, I love your skirt. Where did you get it?
It was my mom's in the 80s.
Vintage. So adorable.
Thanks.
That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever.
Nicki accused Cardi and her team of paying to have her record get more spins, and Cardi replied to the payola rumors at the VMAs saying,
all the love that my fans, that my friends, that everybody shows me it's genuine, it's beautiful, and that's something that God gave me that you can't buy.
On September 7th, the bubbling beef finally started to cook as the two got into a fight at New York Fashion Week during a party. The fight apparently stemmed from Nicki liking some tweets about Cardi being a bad mother, and Cardi had had enough of the fake love. Cardi allegedly threw a shoe at Nicki's head. She was escorted out while Nicki stayed inside.
Who are you?
Nicki Minaj.
You're Nicki Minaj. Okay, all right. Now this is the shoe that Cardi B threw at you.
Nicki said that she was embarrassed by the event, while Cardi took to Instagram to state, "When you mention my child and make comments about my abilities to take care of my daughter is when all bets are fucking off." Nicki took to Queen Radio and accused Cardi of having strippers beat up, and Cardi responded on Instagram with what seemed like 100 videos calling out Nicki for lying about endorsement deals and more.
How convenient is that? Wow, how convenient is that?
Then Nicki called out Cardi on Tekashi's song Mama, alleging that she slept with DJ Self to get her record spins. But Cardi denied that, saying she's never even flirted with the man, and that's where we're at right now. But seeing as how Cardi has a project coming out soon, she'll be doing promo runs, and if there's one thing we know about Cardi, it's that she's never been one to hold back what's on her mind. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this beef goes in the new year. At number 1, Drake went on a forgiveness tour this year, putting to rest his old beefs with Chris Brown, Tyga, Trey Songz, and more, and bringing out his once nemesis Meek Mill on stage in Boston, where the two praised each other. They even collabed together for Going Bad off of Meek's Championships album. But it wasn't all love and peace for the Canadian. Sitting at the number 1 spot, we have Drake versus Good Music's very own Pusha T and Kanye West. On May 25th, Pusha T released his 3rd solo studio album, Daytona, the self-proclaimed rap album of the year. The entire album was produced by Kanye West, who was back on his soulful sampling game. But it was the last song, Infrared, on the 7-track album that pinched a nerve with Aubrey. Pusha seemed to be replying to Drake's shots from his 2017 Two Birds, One Stone, where he went at Cudi and Push. Push said, "It was written like Nas, but it came from Quentin," referencing Quentin Miller, Drake's former ghostwriter and the man who was unintentionally at the heart of his beef with Meek. But what seemed to make Drake even more upset than Push's verses was the fact that Mr. West, who was his friend and collaborator at the time, produced the diss track.
The first album drops, and of course there's a diss song towards me that you produced.
So, less than 24 hours later, Drake replied with Duppy Freestyle, a full-on diss track aimed at Push, and probably more so Kanye. Whenever you start a diss song off with a sigh, it's about to get real. Drake basically asked Push how he could have the audacity to mention ghostwriting when he's helped out his boss Kanye with the pen on so many occasions. In fact, he was just over there putting pen to the sheets, writing the hook for Kanye's Yikes. He also threw some shots at Pusha, again questioning the legitimacy of his drug dealing past. At the end of the track, he tells Push that Kanye should expect an invoice coming their way for sparking good conversation and probably selling more albums for him by getting their streaming numbers up. Aubrey is a man of his word and sent through an invoice for $100K to Good Music for promotional assistance and career reviving. Like his album title, Pusha had the luxury of time to make sure his reply was perfect, before releasing the scathing diss track, The Story of Adidon, on May 29th, where he now infamously told Drake, "You are hiding a child." Even though the rumor had been online for months, it was never confirmed, and many mainstream fans were absolutely shocked. The song's title referred to a combination of Drake's child's name and his upcoming clothing line with Adidas, which was supposedly going to be a nod to his son. That Adidas deal clearly fell through. Whether that was because of Pusha T or not, we'll never know. But as for now, it still checks over stripes. But it was the shots at his sick friend 40 who has MS that really upset Drake. The world refreshed SoundCloud daily, awaiting a reply from the Six God, but got no music. The only replies we received came in the forms of a note on his Instagram story explaining the photo Pusha used for the diss track, and an interview promo run from Jay Prince, who said that Drake wasn't going to hop in the pig pen. The cover for The Story of Adidon was Drake dressed in blackface, which, without context, was a disturbing image. So Drake gave context to the pic, stating, "I know everyone is enjoying the circus, but I want to clarify the image in question. This picture is from 2007, a time in my life where I was an actor and I was working on a project that was about young black actors struggling to get roles, being stereotyped and typecast." Jay Prince also alleged that Drake had a reply to Pusha, but that it would be too hurtful and could ruin Kanye's life. At first I didn't believe it, but after all of the latest drama with Ye, I wouldn't be surprised if the track accidentally got leaked.
You know, I would much rather live with that than the things that I was about to, the research I did, the things that I was gonna say, and the places that I was gonna go, not only for him, but the other guy too, you know? And now
on June 29th, Drake dropped his double album, Scorpion, and after hearing side A, fans began to speculate that many of the songs were aimed at Kanye West. Songs like Can't Take a Joke, 8 out of 10, Mob Ties, and Emotionless seem to be addressing his issues with the Good Music boss. And of course, on the same song, he revealed that Pusha was not lying and that he does in fact have a son. Some of the lyrics from the album didn't sit well in the soul of the man who Drake was already not on great terms with. After a Twitter thread went viral that theorized Drake may have been talking about sleeping with Kanye's wife Kim throughout his album, Kanye had some choice words in reply. Kanye took to Instagram saying,
"Spirit to take accountability is the fact that it's people making rumors or thinking that you f my wife and you're not saying nothing and you carrying it like that don't sit well."
Apparently Kim's nickname is Kiki, so Kanye thought the song In My Feelings was about her. And although I didn't think anything of it at first, Drake later on said in his interview with LeBron on his HBO show The Shop that the song was created after the Pusha beef. So you never know.
until that, I didn't have In My Feelings, I didn't have Nonstop, I didn't have,
What's one of our favorite songs, Mavi, now?
On August 3rd, Travis Scott dropped his album Astroworld, and to everyone's surprise, Drake popped up on track 3, Sicko Mode. It didn't take long for fans to think that Drake was hinting at some things about Kanye on the song. However, it did take Kanye about 4 months to get upset about it, heading to Twitter and claiming that Drake was threatening him and his family. Drake's only reply was posting crying laughing emojis on his IG story in classic Drizzy fashion. I still think Kanye was more upset that he was threatening the sales to his Yeezy 350s than he was with Drake threatening his family. I wonder how many of his friends had to stop wearing their 350s around him. Apparently the two got on the phone, but I think their issues are far from over.